brave amigos are we. Brother to brother and everyone, a brave amigo. Wherever they need us, our destinies lead us. Amigos, we're always together. Wherever we go with three brave amigos, and we'll be amigos forever. We are the three amigos. We are the three amigos. We are the three
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's probably the fastest that we've ever had a turnaround on a podcast. And I don't know
Podcast or a podcast?
Podcast. Listen, Pat Shermer needs a hot dog.
Tammy. Big Tammy and Gino. Well, I think
that was a great intro, Jimmy. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jim. No, I think this is not. We're going. Was it? It's not just Boom and Buck. It's Boom, Buck, and Blue.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah.
The Boom, Buck, and Blue.
Hey, it makes sense. Now Big Ten's back too. We got we got some stuff to talk about, which is good.
Yeah,
college football. So we're going to start right into that. I think the biggest news. I mean, it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. Biggest news, obviously, is that the Cowboys lost their first week. Oh no! The biggest news, obviously, is the Big Ten is back. They've announced it. And yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna get into it. Don't get me wrong, I'm super stoked. I was a little disappointed, not a little bit, I was really disappointed when the Big Ten got bumped, just because no offense to the Pac-12, but I mean, with Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan, Greater Michigan's been a little down, but Penn State and Ohio State, like for the last 5-6 years, have been right there in the national spotlight, up there. And when you play a college football season and those teams aren't there, it was not taking anything away from the players, the coaches, or what they're doing. It's just not the same. Not having the Big Ten there. So I was really bummed. Really excited about their back. However, I want to get your two thoughts on how stupid the presidents are, and the rules that they put in place.
Okay, I'm gonna go first because I have a take on this one. So initially, it was. As we said, the presidents, the chancellors all voted back early August to just go ahead and cancel the fall season. Now, that means that they would revisit the possibility of playing an entire season in the spring, right?
Stupid.
Which is stupid. It's so dumb. And
the Pac-12 did the same, right?
Well, I think the Pac-12 just canceled it all together.
I think they just canceled outright.
Yeah, they're done.
Oh, I thought they canceled. I thought they said there was a chance they could do it in the spring, but
no, they came like on just football. They said there's just no football in the store.
Right
now, as for the other winter sports, they might come back, but yeah, they said football's done. See you in 2021.
Yeah, and that's dumb. But my take on it is this: and I think it was Chris Fowler who came out and said that it's so incredibly dangerous to try and fit 2 entire football seasons in 1 year, because the Big Ten was talking about possibly revisiting it in the spring, which means, and it wasn't even spring, it was like late January, which is not the spring in the North.
No,
when it comes down to the Big Ten, that is Snow City, sir.
Yeah.
Right?
If you go to Michigan or Minnesota in early January, you better take a park.
There's not a single school that would not be covered in snow by the time that season started, right?
Right.
And Chris Fowler made a really good point. It's so dangerous. Let's say go ahead and, okay, we've got a vaccine by the end of the year, and we're good to go and good to roll with this spring football season in 2021, right? And he said the idea that a conference could think that teams could play an entire season, recover in only like 4 months, and then turn right around and do it again. Chris, and
that's a good point. Like that's a lot of people don't realize that. I think we all understand that, like how much football games take a toll on players, and especially, I mean, even they're going to slam these 8 games in 8 weeks, and they're not going to have any rest, and they're going to go out there and get smashed for 8 weeks, and then possibly then they're going to have their championship week, and then they're going to go into a bowl game possibly, or champion playoffs or whatever. Players are not going to have rest. I see injuries stacking up, and I couldn't imagine let's do that in the spring and then turn around and do training camp for the next year. And
you look what happened. Yeah, and the other thing with the short turnaround is you look at all the injuries that happen in the NFL.
Yeah, no training camp, no hitting drills, none of that. Like you see what happens to players. Yep.
That was just I'm glad it didn't work out that way.
But
so here's my take on that. I'm going to assume that the Big Ten president and commissioner and all the other presidents of the teams had good intentions in their mind. They wanted to wait until, because their excuse was, we wanted to wait till better testing. We wanted to wait till better, 15-minute turnaround testing where they can test the players on the field and know exactly which players have it and don't. And they can kind of avoid the whole, what do you call that? The tracing. They don't have to worry about tracing because they can do these 15-minute things and say, okay, this guy is, tested positive. There's not much tracing involved because he got tested yesterday,
Right.
Yeah.
So I wish, it would have benefited the Big Ten if they would have started. I mean, if we were starting this week like the SEC is, I think that would have been better. You would have been able to spread the games out a little bit, and you would have room for error. Now, Ross, I know you mentioned this. The Big Ten has no room for error anymore.
Yeah, then the rules that the president's put into place are just fucking idiotic. I mean, first off, you guys are starting a month late, and don't get me wrong, I hope that you guys can get all your games in. I would put probably my next 3 paychecks that none of you guys will finish with a full season.
I agree.
The rules that they have in place, and the Big 12 we started 2 weeks ago, and I was getting in my calendar on my phone. I was putting all the OU games in there, so we have it when we look at it, and I think we have. Without playing, we have 2 or 3 bye weeks. I think it's 3. So
we just had one, right?
Yeah, we just had one. We have one before the Texas game, and then we have one second or third last week of the season. So if something happens with COVID, okay, well we have 2 slots in there that we could move that game to.
Right.
Right. And I think the way they set it up is the bye weeks. Since we're all the Big 12's only playing the Big 12, every Big 12 team will have off that week. So that way, if a game needs to get pushed, everybody's open. It's not we play West Virginia this week, that got canceled. Well, we could play in week 7. Oh, well, because OU's off. Well, West Virginia's playing Oklahoma State. That doesn't work. No, they have 3 set in stone huge bye weeks. For instance, this week, Oklahoma State played Tulsa, and Big 12 for the most part was off because of these byes. And Oklahoma State was supposed to play Tulsa week 2. That got bumped. Okay, well, they moved it to the next week and we're open. You guys can't do that. If you guys have a bye, one of the most idiotic rules, and Jim, we were talking about, and Ryan, you brought up a very good point that we'll talk about, is the 7.5%.
Right.
The way it reads is it says that if Jimmy, you said it was local populations. What's this? If the quote unquote, you can't
it
say
just says
quote.
Yeah, it just says population.
Yeah, it says if the population is over 7.5%, then the team in that area cannot play.
Yeah, and on Wikipedia is where it says local, and we have no idea where they pulled that from and where the actual rules are, but it did say local population. My interpretation of that is the population of the campus that these teams are on, possibly, or I'm not sure. Yeah,
right.
And the reason, when I brought it up initially to you guys, it wasn't on. It was Oklahoma Sports Talk Radio. Granted, they have no ties to the Big Ten. They don't know. They're just speculating. Their interpretation was the state's population.
Yeah.
Right.
Which could be possible. That could be it. Yeah.
It could be that. Yeah. If it is, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, first off, yeah. And I was looking up, and granted, I just used Pennsylvania because I just picked it. Looked it up. It takes 14 hours to drive across the state of Pennsylvania. Penn State's pretty much right smack in the middle. So Pittsburgh and Philly, I'm guessing, Ryan, you probably know, about 7 hours, 8 hours apart from Penn State's campus.
Yeah, about 4-ish, I think. If I remember correctly. Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, so
also, State College is the third biggest city in the state during
Right.
game days.
Right.
Like,
Well,
when it's not during game days, it's like I don't know if it's in the top 10.
yeah. So if Philadelphia has an outbreak, that's going to affect Penn State? That's hours and hours away. Like, fuck off, get out of
Yeah,
here.
it makes no sense, especially when you don't have fans, you don't have tailgating. Like, and Penn State's already come out and said that we're not having fans in the stadiums for now, and there is no tailgating on in State College city limits or whatever.
Right. And so if we're going by state, and granted we don't know people, don't take our word for it. If we go by state, like I said, Jim, you ain't playing your first week. Because you guys played Nebraska. Nebraska now is at 12.5%. So in the next 3 weeks, they're going to have to drop about 6%, and they've been doing nothing but an incline since July.
Yeah,
you guys would not play. So boom, there's one game out for Penn State or for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other two big ones, it was Nebraska. It's either Minnesota or Wisconsin that's at 13%. Like, there's no way in hell you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Wisconsin, actually.
It's the more I think about it, it's got to be population of the
local.
campus or
It
county
doesn't make
or
any sense.
something.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense for it to be a state.
Yeah,
because it doesn't make any. It just doesn't make any sense.
You just assume that you might as well just cancel the season because no one's going to be able to play. That's how I see it.
So, but if you do Penn State campus, I mean, Ryan, you guys ain't playing the first week. Because was it Penn State right after Ohio or the Big Ten said this? Penn State came out and said Penn State athletics alone had 50 cases of COVID.
It was out of was it 500 or 250 or something like that? It was
but 50, if you do that,
that's 10%.
That's 7.5%.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking.
Those are that's just athletes too. That's
just
players.
athletes. So,
because it was what 5%. If you have a 5%
on the team,
players
if the team
on the
has
team.
more than 5%, which again, if you look at that, when you count walk-ons and everything, right? Red shirts, a football team has about 120, 110 people, players.
Yep.
5% is five. Like, all you need is 5 or 6 people. 5 or 6 out of 120 have COVID. You ain't playing. That is ridiculous.
So I don't know if you have them pulled up. So let's move away. So we got that. We got that. We got the 5% of the team. We got total population, whatever population means, and then what else is there?
So there's if you get COVID, that you have to sit out for 21 days.
21 days.
21 days. So if you get COVID, you're going to already miss a third of the season. Boom.
That includes with them having these brand new tests.
Right. So, if you get it, and because everybody else, and Brendan, I'm pretty sure from what I've read and what I know, that the 14 days is even a made-up number. Everybody thinks even 14 days is too long. Like my wife's brother got COVID, Tyler, and he was asymptomatic or whatever. But I mean, we heard about it. He got tested. He popped positive. Okay. I think it was 5 or 6 days later, he was fine. He was 100% fine. Got tested again. They're like, no, you're good. So
I work on a 7-man team. My whole team they all tested positive. I didn't test because I didn't have any symptoms. But I mean, 3 days later they felt fine, and I mean, we all took 2 weeks off. We took the whole 2-week quarantine. We stayed in the house and worked from home and did all that. But I mean, they all felt fine. 2 or 3 days later. But
yeah, so I don't even know where the 14 days come from. But the Big Ten's saying 21 days. Which is already stupid. And then for at least I can speak for the Big 12. I can't speak for the ACC and the SEC. But just for the tracing, like if you've been in contact with somebody, for the Big 10, if you've been in contact with somebody, you're out 14 days. For the Big 12, it's 10 days. So a little bit of difference, not a huge, but I mean it's still 4 days. So that's the difference.
That gets weird. What if a player tests positive right, like game day or during a practice, his contact tracing goes through I mean, if he's a defensive lineman, he's literally touched
offensive lineman, defensive lineman,
the whole offensive line, the whole defense. You're huddling up. I mean, that's your whole team's out at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean
my thing is, I hope that they just take it very seriously. I mean, obviously with these regulations in place, you've got to take it seriously. I hope it's sort of a kick in the butt, and it's like, all right, we got.
Well, and I think what sucks, and don't get me wrong, they're college
Take
athletes.
this real serious because we want to play football. We fought all this, all the players came out, like Justin Fields signed that freaking that started that petition. The coaches were all behind the players, the parents, like
Right.
for real.
Well,
They're
and I
like,
think,
okay, we cannot play around with this.
well, and I think
would
that, like,
hope that's what would be the case.
like teams like Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Wisconsin, Nebraska, the big football teams. Yeah, they're going to take this dead serious and like all this stuff. But the problem is with zero like room for error. I'm not trying to take it away, but teams like Rutgers.
You can say it. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, they're trash.
If you want to land
football.
a Rutgers, you're 100% allowed to.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if Rutgers Indiana's not a football powerhouse by any means.
Northwestern,
Northwestern.
I like Northwestern. I like their coach and everything.
Fantastic.
But they're not competing. They're not competing for national championships, especially this year.
Yeah, they're hoping to go out and go like 6-6 on a regular season.
Right.
They might not. Those players might not take it as serious. But like if they're sitting there next week looking and going, "Oh, well, we got to go play Ohio State in Columbus. Fuck it, I'm going out to the bar.
Right.
I don't care if I play or
Right.
not." And that's going to ruin your season.
So Franklin kind of alluded to that. He was. I listened to the Penn State 24/7 podcast, and two guys there. They do a really good job, and they mentioned that Franklin like tried to hammer it home when he was giving this interview. He's saying players have to take accountability for other players. Like you have to, be honest with other players. You have to like keep everybody in check. Like if you do have a kid or a couple kids that are like, hey, we're going to the club tonight. Like there has to be senior leadership on those teams that say you're not going anywhere. Like you're not going to screw everything for the rest of the team. We're trying to go out there and Jimmy and I were talking about this offline, but in my opinion, I'm a huge Penn State fan. There's only one team that has a chance to win a national championship from the Big Ten this year, and that's Ohio State.
Right.
Penn State's got a very, very, very outside chance of making it, and if everything works out perfect and Ohio State misses 7 games and doesn't get a chance to play, like maybe Penn State's got a chance, but like
don't get me wrong, Ryan. You're going to have a very solid team, and I think that you could be in any game. However, if you put Alabama, Clemson, and Oklahoma in a college football playoff and put Ohio State in there, I think Ohio State's they got a chance, a very damn good chance.
They got by far the best quarterback in the conference, and if
you guys put Penn State in there, I'd be like, yeah, if Penn State gets there, I'd be going against Alabama or Clemson week 1 or the first round of the playoffs, and going Alabama, Clemson back-to-back weeks is brutal for anybody. I think Ohio State, like you said, with their talent is better. Penn State would have a chance. But I wouldn't like.
Yeah, and I know people were high on Penn State this year, and I know that coming into this year with a new offensive coordinator, with Kirk Soraka coming in from Minnesota, like they thought there's a chance there, but like you got a new offensive coordinator with a quarterback that struggled at times last year, and that I'm not 100% sold on. He might be great. I just haven't seen it yet. There's a lot of question marks there, and people were like, Penn State might be a dark horse. They got a lot of talent. They had Micah Parsons and Brandon Smith at linebacker. Now you lose Micah, and it's like you kind of lost the things, and you're rolling the dice there. Kirk Soraka might be the guy, and he might be the offensive coordinator of the future for Penn State, and might turn that offense around. But yeah, like if my money was on anybody, it's Ohio State. They got the same coach coming in. They got the best quarterback in the Big Ten coming back. They got studs everywhere. They always have studs everywhere. But
yeah. Well, I think one of the interesting parts, though, is going to be, so one thing with all of this COVID stuff, there hasn't, like in a lot of teams, they're not doing tackling drills. They haven't hit anybody since last year, and that's just the way they're doing it. And I think you saw that a lot in these first 2 weeks of teams not being able to do that. Oklahoma State looked like dog do. And a couple other teams, just the defense, like you see a lot more big plays popping just because some of the hitting's just not there. And teams warming up. So it's going to be interesting, Ryan. If Ohio State doesn't play Nebraska week 1, just say if that gets canceled, you guys get to warm up. Week 2 is Penn State, Ohio State. You got a game under your belt. Right. You're ready to rumble. And Ohio State's going in there haven't played. Not saying that tips the ultimate scales to you, but I think that's a big boost for Penn State.
Yeah, having an extra week and all that stuff. And I foresee. I know you guys were talking about it, and you guys like especially you, Ross, you foresee or the Big Ten canceling some games.
Yeah.
I'm cautiously optimistic that they're going to get through this season, and not just the contact tracing, but the testing that they have is so accurate and fast that they're going to be able to like isolate players that do have it, and they're going to be able to. I don't know. We'll see like how that all pans out, but I mean that would be a benefit if we get to play, because we play Indiana first week. It's we get Indiana and we get a practice game, and then I mean of course we have
Get to hit
Ohio
somebody.
State. And then we have Ohio State the next week. But I mean that's going to be a rough week, no matter what. No matter if Ohio State plays Nebraska or whatever, it's going to be.
Ryan, I'm trying to give you some props here. God damn it.
Hey, I'm trying to take it, but I got to be an honest fan,
Listen, you all got to understand, we've known Ryan for a very long time, and this is the most modest I've probably ever heard him as a Penn State fan.
Have him talk about the Cowboys. They win the Super Bowl every year. I guarantee.
Hey, you know what's funny about that? We'll get into NFL later, but I have no optimism with the Cowboys this year. I mean, obviously Sunday was great and it was fun to watch, but I have
hold that thought because I want to hear that later. I want to hear about that later.
Yeah,
Ryan's obviously our NFL insider. Me and Jimmy know football, but Ryan's definitely our NFL guy. So how do you see the season panning out for the Big Ten? Let's go Big Ten.
The only way them being able to play an entire full slate of games, because as of right now it's 8 games, is if the Big Ten decides that they want to relieve some of those regulations, because 21 days is ridiculous. 5%. Would you say like what is it 7% or 5%?
It's 7.5% for the population. It's 5% of the team.
5% of the team. How many people is that on a team?
It's 5 or 6 people. Period.
It's 5 or 6 people, right? And if
that's only if you're counting everybody on the team. If you're just counting active and not redshirt freshmen, everything, which is 120, active is what 65 people on the team. If you like that, 5% is 3 people.
The thing that doesn't make sense about that is if you have testing that you can test every day and you can test before the game and all this stuff, and you can guarantee those players on the field are not going to test or that you can guarantee those players on the field are negative. Like that 5% doesn't mean anything to me.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
it doesn't make. So if you have one guy that tests positive and then everyone else tests negative, you take that one guy out, you put another guy in that's also tests negative, and like you isolate that guy for 21 days or whatever, and you continue and you move forward.
Even then, you shouldn't have to like wait 21 days. Wait a week, test him if he's clear. Okay, he's clear now.
Yeah.
Why have to wait?
How many tests in a row? If you can do like so many tests in a row in a week, and you've got negative, right? Yeah. Why can't that one guy come back in? He's got to wait, 10 days, they said? No.
Well, it's 10 days
2
for
weeks.
tracing. It's
2 weeks if you come in contact. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
and we'll see how this pans out. We'll see how hard the Big Ten follows these rules. And like, I know they put out these rules, but like, hopefully like common sense like takes over. And
that's what I'm saying.
Like, I hope I'm optimistic,
So I know a big portion. Go ahead.
Oh, I just don't see I understand what you're saying, and hopefully, that would happen. But that would include the presidents of the universities admitting they were wrong, which I do not think they will do.
I don't think that's what I'm saying.
Of some universities, it's not all presidents.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
I don't think that they'll go back on the rules just because they'd have to admit like, hey, yeah, we're wrong. Sorry.
So I want to go over the major concerns that came out after they decided they wanted to be more transparent after they canceled the season, right? They're like, what is the big reason? Why can't we play? And there's a lot of things going around. There's a lot of accusations, a lot of thoughts. One of them being, we don't think any of the presidents wanted to play just because they were concerned about the issue with the heart.
Oh, the heart. Yeah, the heart.
Myocarditis.
That's
right?
What it is, yeah.
And I am no expert on this. I tried to look it up. I tried to do some research, but I have heard some things that the report that the Big Ten presidents and chancellors were going off of has been, quote unquote, not disproved, but has been shown to be.
No, so Penn State came out with a thing that said 40% of them that get COVID get this myocarditis, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah, and they said that's not actually necessarily true. That that has changed in the amount of time. So that's what sort of led to everything. My biggest issue is when it comes down to the president saying, if this was their thinking, they say, we don't want to put people on a field, expose them to something that could possibly, in theory, cause this issue in the heart and could have major issues later on down the line. Then the same thing goes for something that we do know actually happens. Have the multiple head trauma.
Yeah.
Like this is a known fact. Like this has been proven. They know that's why they changed the way people are taught how to tackle. That's why they changed practices. That's for everybody at every level, at every football level, right?
Yep.
But they're willing to say, all right, we're okay with you going and blasting the crap out of your head on the field for 60 minutes.
I don't want you to do it again.
And then do it again and then bring in more money. But this something that is possibly going to happen to you if we, it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
But that, like I said, that's all a speculation based on an idea of the Big Ten they wanted to cover their butts when it came down to like.
They don't want to get sued 5 years down the road.
They don't want to get sued, right? But in my opinion, if they say, all right, here's what we're going to do. These are the things that you have to do as a team to be able to field a team and actually get a chance to play football this fall. If you can't meet these standards, you won't play, right? And if you don't want to take those risks, then you as a team can opt out of the season, right? If you don't want to play, you're gone. Fine. Great. I know Rutgers has pushed really hard against it. Michigan State, I think their presidents both were, all of them. Maryland was another one. They're all like, we don't want to play. And they voted no every time, right? Okay, you can't play. Fine. You're not going to play. You're also not going to get Big Ten money, right?
Right.
So I don't understand how it's so hard for them to set up, here's what we can do. But immediately, I think they just voted back in August to say, we don't want to put these kids' lives in danger based on something that, like I said, could possibly happen.
Right.
And we know the survival rate for people under the age of 25, which is every single player on a college football team, is something like 0.0.
Except Chris Winkie when he played. Don't forget Chris Winkie.
Right.
Or what was Oklahoma State's quarterback when he was
Brandon Weeden.
Yeah, Brandon Weeden. He was like 35. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's older than me. I'm kidding.
So my big problem is Big Ten put out these the rules and what and hopefully it's more information will come out. They weren't specific enough. Like for instance, like what's going to happen? You guys are playing a Big Ten championship, and granted they're playing the Big Ten second place and third place game the same day, which is just fucking idiotic. But whatever.
Yeah, that doesn't make any. Yeah.
Well, they say the reason they're doing it is because the Big Ten has to play so many games for them to get their contract TV money. The only way to do that is to put other games on the Big Ten championship game.
Now they have championship week where 2 plays 2, 3 plays 3, and so on.
Yeah, it's fucking stupid. But they didn't come out. Like, say, what if Ohio State first week they don't play Nebraska? Game's gone, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll just say Ohio State Rutgers is canceled, right? And then you guys run the table, and so you'd be. I think you guys are playing 8 or 9 games. 6-0. What if Penn State loses to Ohio State but wins all their other games and they play all their games?
And
so you guys are 6-0 and they're 7-1. Well, okay, well, who wins the conference? Do you give it to Ohio State because they're undefeated? Well, they play 2 less games, or do you give it to the people that? So, and the Big Ten, and either way, I could see an argument for either one. Don't get me wrong. But the Big Ten hasn't come out and stated that. Right. So, like, are they going to wait till the end of it?
Hopefully they play it by ear and like I said earlier, common sense will take over. And
that's what
I really hope that none of these games get canceled. And I think a lot of these other conferences have the buffer zone of canceling games or moving games, or like, hey, we had a bye week in week 6, so therefore we'll move that game to week 6 or whatever. Right. Like whatever happens, we can do that. But
that actually leads into my other issue I had with this whole thing. As far as I know, there was no planning for what they could possibly do for a season at all. They could have been planning for this stuff back in June. They didn't even have a team together. They didn't get a team together for bringing football back until late August.
And their excuse was they're waiting for better testing. And that,
you gotta do something. You gotta do. I understand the wait.
It's either they were waiting.
But they jumped in. They jumped in because I can't remember when the Pac-12 voted to cancel, but I know it was. I'm pretty sure that they were thinking the writing was on the wall that there was going to be no college football this fall.
Also, the whole
So they're
West
like,
Coast
let's
was on
jump in.
fire too, so they kind of added to it too. Like it's hard to play college football games when you're the
Right.
But
the
yeah,
whole
when your
stadium's
air
on fire.
quality is
It's still on fire, for the love of God.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
the Pac-12 actually like handled it better, but I think they had a little bit of an easier decision to make. Like I don't want to completely joke about the whole fires, but that is a big thing. Like air quality and those players going out there and playing in all these stadiums and I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
whole
have
West
to
Coast.
look. I have to look and see when they voted to cancel it because I want to say it was. If they did, it was around the same time as the Big Ten.
Right.
They did. They announced before you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was no fires then.
No, they
Well, hey,
Yeah,
I'm in Denver,
considering
and
now.
Denver has been pretty. And listen, we're the farthest east, like big or Pac-12 team. I think Colorado and Colorado State are, but
they
I
are.
mean, yeah, and they've been
Yeah.
like Colorado is. I won't run outside. I mean, the whole state has been covered in smoke for the past like 2 months.
Well, it's not just Colorado. I mean, like I'm in Oklahoma, which is the middle of the damn country, and
That's
like
dust, Russ.
no, they literally came out. No, it could be dust, but no, they came out and said like air quality right now is not like it's not as bad obviously as Colorado, but they're saying like if you have lung issues,
Yeah,
you should
don't go
not be
outside.
doing like strenuous things outside
Yeah,
right
don't run outside. You know, don't
Yep.
walk the dogs. Yeah.
now. Yeah. So
So one concern I have on the scheduling
It was.
is
Oh yeah. By the way, Big Ten, Pac-12 canceled their fall season on the same day,
yeah, I was
There
gonna
you
say
go.
August
the
11th. yeah.
Pac-12. Well, the Pac-12 announced it. I remember because I was watching TV. The Pac-12 announced like about lunchtime, and the Big Ten came out about 2 to 3 hours later and said they were.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. I honestly think they're jumping on the bandwagon. They're thinking, okay, well, Pac-12 is not doing it, so we're not going to do it. And the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 are like,
Fuck
no,
you.
we're going to play football.
Yeah, no, we're gonna play
Yeah.
football.
We're these
Um,
dove Southerners. We need our pigskin, boys. Yeehaw!
I got a bone to pick.
Those were
My
not
bone my
exact words, by the way, Jimmy. Those were my exact words.
so my bone to pick is
I know your body did.
who's the guy with Joey Galloway on the ESPN show? It's the beefcake
Jesse-
looking guy.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber.
Jesse Palmer.
Oh.
Jason-
Justin Bieber. Yeah,
Hey.
one of the two. So he did mention, how does Ohio State dance around this schedule, not find Minnesota, Iowa, or Wisconsin in the West? That's a pretty outstanding job of scheduling by the Ohio State people. I don't know how that all worked and how the commission worked, but they
Yeah.
did a very good job of avoiding the top 3 teams in the,
When
in
it
the
comes
West.
to I think Urban Meyer looked at that schedule on Saturday. He's like, yeah, that's a path to a national championship.
Yeah. I mean, you got
And
Nebraska, Rutgers, Maryland, Indiana,
I think and don't-
Illinois.
this one. Yeah, and don't quote me on this one. I think it was the Big Ten who went ahead with schedules.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's not like Ohio State can go out and say, well, we've got a free week, week 3 of the 2029 football season. Let's go play Oklahoma. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, and it looks like Penn State's schedule is the exact same, except for Illinois, we got Iowa, which is a big difference, and it's a big step up in competition. But
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, side
that
note.
yeah.
I want to just. Do you think the presidents had a bone to fucking pick when the loudest team during this whole shit was Nebraska? They were loud and proud.
Dude, they
so the
gave
presidents go,
Nebraska.
fine, fuck you. Here's Ohio State, week 1.
Week 1, yeah.
Yeah, then week 4 you got Penn State. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, what was it? It was your boy RJ Young, my boy. I like him too, but
oh yeah,
he came out and he's like, Nebraska is big mad.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hey,
man, you wanted this.
You wanted football? Cool. Here's Ohio State. Have fun.
I love it.
And you know what? Nebraska's got that mentality where they just don't give an F. They'll play anybody anywhere, and they
Well,
might lose by 60, and that's okay with them. They just
Well, that's one
Scott
thing.
Frost gets those guys out there, and he wants to go out and compete, and he's going to scream and yell, and he's going to.
I want Scott Frost to
Well,
do good at Nebraska.
I do
Yeah, me
too.
too.
And I saw like it was the Nebraska athletic director. I read something, and he was kind of bitching about the scheduling and Ohio State week 1. And don't get me wrong, like you're saying, Ryan, he was bitching and moaning, blah blah, and he ended it with, he's like, well, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna go strap our chin straps up. We can go win some football games.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, well, good luck.
Yeah, I mean,
but-
hope they
all of a
lose it.
sudden, Ohio State gets Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa. They just get the ringer of the West. You know, if they get all 3 of them, they probably
got-
still beat them. They probably still smoke them all by 20.
It'd be
You know? Like, yeah, it'd be more difficult, but like Ohio State's still the cream of the crop of the.
Well, at that
the
point,
whole
like
conference.
it's not so much. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like there's always a chance in college football. That's why we all love it so much. That anything can happen to anybody on any day. That's why we love it so much. But it's not so much the thought of Ohio State losing. It's just like when you go play Wisconsin, man, you're beat up after that game with that just downhill run, just getting smashed. I mean, it beats you up. When you get to go play Rutgers and you can just flick them over with your pinky ring, be like, bye.
I mean, we noticed that Jimmy, didn't Ohio State lose to like Purdue like a couple years ago?
Oh yeah, I remember watching that game.
It was after, I think it was after the Penn State week, and they went to go play in-state college and won the game in state college, or maybe I got those mixed up, but I just know that.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up.
Ohio State looked beat up the week afterwards, you know.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking it up. Hold on, I got the schedules going. So, yeah, Ryan, you're not even close. So they played Penn State, and then then Ohio State played Indiana, and then Minnesota, and then Purdue.
Well, this is Minnesota, the powerhouse of the Golden Gophers just stomped.
You're close. You're very close though.
They were still, it was one of those, when you work out, like I don't work out, but like when you did work out once, where it doesn't really set in until like 3 or 4 days later. That's what it was.
You're 18, and we used to work out, all of us. Jimmy works out the fag.
I worked out this morning.
Okay, so we'll put it this way: we're going to take everything into consideration, possibilities of games canceling, all sorts of stuff like that, right?
Yep.
We're going to retackle your college football playoff prediction of 4. Jimmy?
It's easy for me.
I'm going to go what's funny? The SEC is difficult.
Because we haven't seen them play yet. That's one thing.
Haven't seen them play yet. Alabama
also bank on Alabama being damn good.
Yeah, Alabama's going to be damn good. That's for sure. They're going to be different. They still got Najee Harris. They're probably going to be running a lot, even though Mac Jones surprised the hell out of me against Auburn last year.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Alabama out of the SEC, Clemson, because the ACC still is not very good.
Well, Miami might give them a fight, though.
That is true. Miami looks pretty good.
Yeah, don't wrong. I'll take Clemson, but Miami could put up a fight.
Clemson. I still got Clemson way ahead of everybody in that. And you look at how much Trevor Lawrence played and didn't play against the Citadel.
Well, against who?
9 passes and had like 3 touchdowns, and was out before the half. Like,
sounds like Spencer Sanders.
Well,
wow.
Yeah, that's a different story though. That boy got hurt. Anyway, so yeah, I'm gonna go Alabama in no particular order. I'm gonna go Alabama, Clemson. Who else did I have? Oh, Oklahoma and Ohio State.
Like, come on, really?
Oklahoma, Ohio State. Yeah.
It's my turn, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna go the same, but I can't pick the same as Jimmy, so I'm gonna actually keep Notre Dame in my top 4.
Interesting.
Yeah, I honestly, maybe this is the Penn State fan in me. Maybe Penn State sneaks a win against Ohio State, and Ohio State runs a table. They only got 8 games. Like, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, for Notre Dame to be in the conversation, they're going to have to beat Clemson, which is the second, or they played Clemson 4th last week. So if they beat Clemson, they're in regardless.
Yeah, I want to see what. Oh, geez, we're not going to see that. We're not going to see it. Like, what's the hardest team that play before the?
Well, I've got their schedule up right here. Hold on a second.
They don't play UNC, which is possibly then BC looks pretty good against.
So
Duke.
they play Virginia this week, and then they have a bye week this week. They play Virginia October 3rd, and then October 10th they play Miami.
That could be an interesting game. I still think Clemson wins that one easily, but that's going to be a good one because Miami looked really good. Granted, it was Louisville, but Derek King, that quarterback out of Houston.
DeAndre King?
DeAndre? I thought it was De'Aaron.
De'Aaron.
It's like De'Aaron or Derek. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I should learn. Yeah. These kids' names, I don't know, man. But
Ladasha.
Yeah, he was a very good quarterback at Houston. Put up a lot of numbers, but he was playing at Houston. And then he opted out, like he redshirted himself halfway through the season and was like, I'm going to be back. I'm going to work on it. I'll be back. And then he transferred to Miami.
Yeah. And
it was a good choice because now he's on the map. They put up some numbers against Louisville, and granted, again, it's Louisville.
Well, Louisville's better
Not
than
bad,
I mean, they're
but
Louisville's not the number 18 team that they're ranked, but they're still a pretty damn good football team.
yeah, they're still a good football team. The big thing is with Louisville, it's their offense. It's not their defense, right?
Wait, so
And Miami held them to what, like something like 25?
34.
Like 30. Okay.
34 and 516 yards of offense. Good call though.
so you bring up a good point, Ross. So is there any way ACC gets 2 teams in? Like how would
No.
Miami or so?
I-
All right, so I'm changing my pick. Ohio State.
I don't think
I'm allowed to do it because I'm an adult. All right, I can make changes in my life. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way the ACC can. Notre Dame, again, depends on how the cards fall.
Well, yeah. Who does? Well, you said. Oh, yeah. So you're saying if a Penn State sneaks a win against Ohio State, Notre Dame runs the table.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
Notre Dame's in. Question: if Notre Dame runs the table, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, they're in.
Well, they're in.
Yeah.
period.
Notre Dame.
they're in over Clemson because they beat Clemson. They beat Miami.
Right. So well, then you come to a one-loss Clemson team for then and possibly undefeated Ohio State team that played 3 less games. You just throwing that number out.
Such a
or
weird.
an Ohio State team that wins the Big Ten championship but lost to Penn State.
Right, and they as I say, but if they can't, like, what if like Clemson? Because I don't like. So they're playing Notre Dame. I haven't looked because Notre Dame's only in the ACC for this thing. Are they in Clemson's division or are they in the other one?
Play Clemson on the 7th of November.
Well, no, I know they're in like their conference.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
But like, would they meet again in the ACC championship or?
That's
like,
a good question.
I don't know because Notre Dame's the only one. I'd have to look that up. But so I mean, if you came to a question of like an Ohio State, that man, this is gonna be a tough question. An Ohio State team that I got like throwing numbers out there. Obviously, say you guys get a game canceled. We'll just say Nebraska at the beginning, right? And so you guys go undefeated and you're 7-0, 8-0, 7-0 with a Big Ten championship, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then against a Clemson team that is like 8-1, 9-1, and they've played more games. They've been in every single college football championship for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to keep them out.
Yeah,
I mean, unless they win some of those games, by a field goal, or they look like shit going down the, down the final games or something.
That argument would be rough. Like Ohio State, like everybody picked them to be up there, and okay, they're there. Well, they played 3 less games than Clemson. Damn it, Clemson's been the powerhouse for the last 5 years. Shit, that's going to be an argument. And I mean, either way, I'd see it. But this is. I would not want to be part of the college football playoff committee this year. That's for damn sure. I would not want to be part of that.
Looking at the ACC conference standings right now, they don't have divisions.
Yeah, I'm looking at them too.
So it's just 1 versus 2. So if Clemson lost to Notre Dame, played them again in the ACC championship and beat them, eventual loss. They have 1 loss, eventual loss, won the ACC versus a Big Ten undefeated Ohio State team with 2 less games. That would be hard. Like either way, like.
Is there any word on who's going to be the committee this year?
I have not seen that. It was just surprising because the damn season started. I figured that'd be out.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I mean, I'm going to go. Obviously,
this year's so weird.
Man, I'm trying to think. So
Oklahoma is a for sure because they're the only ones like they had anything going here.
Oklahoma. Well, Texas looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'll give that.
Texas did look good, and the thing that scares me is obviously I know more about the Red River rivalry than everybody, but first-time quarterbacks in Triple R are like 3 and like 27. They don't win. Baker lost his first game. Ellinger lost his first game. Sam Bradford lost his first game. Vince Young lost his first game. First-time quarterbacks do not do well in the Red River rivalry. And now we're going to go into this with 2 less games for the preseason games, right?
Yeah.
So Spencer Rattler, granted, he looked freaking real deal week 1.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to have to go into Dallas with only 3 games under his belt. against Sam Ellinger, who's played like 87,000 games because he's been there since 1905. I could very much see OU losing to Texas, then beating them in the Big 12 championship.
So one there's a lot of variables, and you add more variables this year. The Red River rivalry is going to be a big deal, but you're not going to have the fans in the stands. It's not going to be as big as it usually is. Like, you're not going to cut the stadium down in the middle and just pack it as many people as you can. But so it might maybe it'll be little easier for Spencer, you know.
Right. I mean, that does bring up a good point. The atmosphere, like they're not doing the fair this year, which is a bummer. So it's not the same as it usually is, but it's
still it. It's still the game.
It's still. I mean, it's still OU Texas. It's still one of the premier rivalries of college football.
Yeah.
And it's going to be. I mean, we've talked about it lots of times with certain rivalries. They're. It doesn't matter what your record is. You go in there. Oh, here's a record. So OU, Oklahoma quarterbacks with first start in the Red River rivalry are 2-14-1.
Jesus, that's unbelievable.
That's
Texas is like similar or what?
Yeah, Texas is just the same.
Okay.
It's just and I'm like, and granted, like you said, like and I would love to take you guys, and if you guys haven't seen pictures, go Google OU Texas. It's the craziest atmosphere of just Cotton Bowl split literally right in half. You see half of it orange, half of it red, and it's
I've seen
the state of Texas state fair around it. It's insane.
Yep.
It's absolutely.
And I grew up in that area. I used to go to the state fair. Never got to make it to the Cotton Bowl for the Triple R, but
nuts, man.
Yeah, that's a bucket lister.
That's something the three of us all have, sort of like you said, bucket lister, like things that we would love to see. Our love for the history of college football.
If only I knew somebody who had 3 tickets to that game. Huh. I don't know. I'll look it up.
I could talk to Jerry Jones. He might be able to hook me up. I don't know.
But yeah, so I can very much, so when I'm picking my teams, like, don't get me wrong, I think OU's going to win the Big 12, but I could very much see Texas beating us the second Saturday of October, and then OU avenging their loss in the Big 12 championship, and OU finishing 8-1, 9-1. Which at that point, the way the Big 12 looks, I don't think that's going to be enough to get us in, depending on what happens at the Big 10 and all this other stuff.
Right.
That's a good point.
And what happens with the mid majors? You know, because we were talking last time about the mid majors. This is the year if, you know.
Listen.
Who's in that? Didn't you say UCF last week? Yeah,
UCF.
Cincinnati.
They bashed Georgia Tech pretty good.
Yeah.
They don't like their big game. They played Memphis and Cincinnati.
Yeah, their quarterback went off in the second half.
Yeah. So, I mean, and in UCF, I mean, if they run the table again, after the last time they ran the table and they didn't put them in, and then they went and played, was it Georgia, and smacked the hell out of Georgia in the Orange Bowl, I think it was. If UCF goes out, like we're talking about, this is the year to give them a chance. So, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it's – fuck it, I'll say. I bet you I'll go with Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, UCF.
Wow.
I think the Big 12 gets left out because I think Oklahoma drops one.
And the rest of the conference is a dumpster fire. Like, let's be honest, right?
I mean, Oklahoma State looks trash. If they pull their act together on offense, they've got the weapons, for the love of God.
Oh, what was it? It was Texas Tech. I mean, they got a new head coach. I don't know, man. I don't know. That one's hard for me. You're saying if UCF goes and runs the table and completely dominates everybody.
I'm saying if they run the table, then and Oklahoma wins the Big 12 as a one-loss team. With the way the Big 12 looks, I could see them getting left out.
Well, you got to understand too. If you're talking about Oklahoma dropping the Red River rivalry, and then being able to avenge it, what's the difference between the two games? Because that was the decision. Well, it wasn't the ultimate decision as to why Oklahoma jumped Ohio State in 2018, but that was a part of it, right?
Yeah, it was like our one loss. We came back and
came back.
The team we lost, we won
by like what, 2
2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
it was like 10, 14 points, something like that.
Yeah, and Kyler went off, right?
Yes.
And Ohio State was kind of in the same boat, except they couldn't, they didn't do enough to. And once I found out that Oklahoma beat Tech, revenged that loss, I'm like, oh, well, Ohio State's not getting in.
Yeah, I think everybody at that point, once OU won, we weren't 100% sure because the NCAA and the committee and like general just fucking hell knows. But I think everybody kind of in the back of their head knew that OU was going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to see my Sooners in there, and but I've been telling people since day one, 2021 is going to be the season for OU.
That's going to be an interesting one.
Give Spencer Rattler another a year under the belt. All of these, like the most ridiculous wide receiving recruiting class in my mind in the history of college football. We had the number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver, number 4 receiver in the 2018
in the country.
Class. Yes, in the country.
Holy Jesus!
Yeah.
And it's Hazelwood, Weiss, and God, I forgot the last guy's name. But yeah, I mean, there's what?
Nothing.
But they're studs. So there'll be juniors, seniors by the time, and then everything going on. So I think next year with all the
and then more Alex Grinch recruits too.
Yeah, so I think next year's more OU's. Like that's the year that's going to be okay. Let's see what we can do. And don't get me wrong. I mean, Spencer Rattler, and it was on pay-per-view, so I know a lot of people didn't get to see it. They did see some highlights. But man,
I haven't seen it yet.
This kid is a real deal. They've got, last time I was talking about Marcus Major, and don't get me wrong, I was pumped about Marcus Major. He's still a great running back. He can kiss my ass right now. Seth McGowan, true freshman out of Dallas, Texas, 5'11", 215. He's 5'11", 215. He's like a damn scat back. He's fast as hell. First time he touched the ball, like we all kind of sat up on our couch and we're like, "Who the fuck is that?" We're like, "Who the hell is that dude?" And he's really good. So, but yeah. Anyways, I would love to see OU get there. Wouldn't shock me too much if they got there. However, I'm gonna say the Big 12 gets left out. With OU and Texas both having one loss, OU and then Texas in the Big 12 championship, and then the way UCF played, I just don't see anybody beating them in their conference. Don't take that
game. So I watched that first half. I mean, obviously that game was pretty close in the first half against Georgia Tech, right? So I didn't catch the second half, but like Jimmy said, he just went off in the second half, or what?
I was watching the first. I watched the first half, not completely. Switching back and forth between games. Because OU pissed me off and didn't play last week. I was really excited to watch Rattler play.
Yeah.
But no.
Maybe play this week. We play 11 o'clock, Kansas State.
All right, cool. But anyway, yeah, they looked really sloppy. Both teams looked really sloppy, UCF in particular. And then some turnovers. And then I'm watching the game, and it's a tight game. And I'm sitting there thinking my pick, which we'll go over our picks from week 1 and week 2. And I thought my pick was Georgia Tech was going to cover, and then the wheels started to fall off. And
so Ryan, looking at the stats, that quarterback Gabriel finished 27 for 41 for 420 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So decent.
Not bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
Those are almost Dak numbers.
Oh my God! We'll get into that.
You can't give it. You got to give them that comeback. That was an
I did. So I will say the last 2 weeks I have. So I've been doing a lot of schoolwork in the last 2 weekends and on Sunday, and I actually moved my TV where it's kind of like on the wall across from my desk, but it's above my monitor, so I can just put on TV and just kind of can glance over there. And the last 2 Sundays, I mean, I just kind of picked an NFL game and put it on, and I ended up turning it on so I turned it on at halftime of the Dallas Atlanta game, and I saw the score and I was like, oof.
Yeah.
And so
that was a throw in the season. I'm not going to watch any other game type of game there for a while.
That was a typical Dallas Cowboys fan type of game. It's like, man, I'm tired of this stupid team. They come in, they give me all this hope, and I love them. Back that kick. Oh my God.
Greatest team in the world.
Yeah.
We're going to the Super Bowl.
Skip
Um,
Bayless, left and right.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then like I turned it to some other game. I forgot what it was. Just had to play in the background. Then I went back to the Dallas game. I was like, "Whoa, shit!
Yeah.
Oh God, they're
We'll
back."
save that one for the football, the
Yeah.
NFL
Yeah.
segment.
So we'll kind of we've been kind of going for a while for college football. So we'll go on now. So we got like we say we've been going on our picks, doing a little pick 'em. After last week and the first week, Jimmy and I are at 3-5. Jim.
So I've got the stats for.
Okay. Give them to us.
Let's see, Ross. You are currently sitting at 4 wins, 7
Mhm.
losses.
Okay.
Ryan at 4 wins, 7 losses. Ryan beat us week 1. We both went 2 and 4. Ryan went
Right.
3
And
and
Ryan
3.
in our private chats was a loudmouth, but that's beyond the point.
Right, and then proceeded to go 0 and 5 week 2.
I wanted to let you guys catch up. It's gonna be a long season. I didn't want to go and get too big of a lead. So
You're new to the
Figured if-
podcast. You didn't want to embarrass. I get it.
Right.
No, I get it. Hey, thank you.
Thanks,
You're
man. Okay, so we're going to go over the picks for this week. We got a lot more fun games for everybody that's been keeping track. We've been picking like Appalachian State and the Wake Forest games or whatever. The SEC is picking up, and the Big 12 is now into conference play. So is the ACC. So we're now getting a lot more big names, fun teams in there. So we're going to get a little more fun with that. So first game that we have on the docket, interesting one. Louisville, who just, I'm not going to say they got their bell rung by Miami, but I thought Miami had control of that game.
Yeah, when you told me how, I changed my pick.
Yeah. So we have Louisville and Pitt. Pitt is favored by 2.5. So Jimmy, who you got? And you've got the Excel sheet, so you keep track of everything, Jim.
I will. In this game, like I said, we were talking about Louisville Pitt, and Louisville, known for their offense, held to 34 and 400 and some yards against Miami, whose defense has been kind of the forefront of their team for the past couple of years. Pittsburgh, I would say, probably has a bit of a better defense, but they're not going to have the offense to be able to match up with Louisville, so I'm going to go with Louisville on this one.
Okay.
To win.
Do you think they're going to wear their matte black helmets?
Oh, those are dope.
Ryan, what do you think, Ryan? They can wear their matte blacks?
Yes.
All right, that's your 7th pick for the week. Okay.
Yeah.
Who you got, Ryan?
I'm gonna go with Pitt. Is it
Homer.
at Pitt? Yeah, I gotta. Is it a home game for Pittsburgh?
Let me pull up the schedule real quick.
I gotta look.
It is. It's at Pitt.
Yeah, so we'll go with Pitt. Got their returning quarterback coming in. Was it Kenny Pickett?
Just
Not
say
a
it.
barn
You're from Pennsylvania. You can pick the Pennsylvania team. Just say it.
From Pennsylvania. I'm picking a Pennsylvania team. It's a Penn State rival. Yeah,
You guys don't have a rival.
We are unrivaled. That's true.
You say it's unrivaled. I say not important enough, but that's beyond the point.
Okay. Anyhow, yeah, I'm going with Pitt. Not much behind that one. We'll just go with them.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jim on this one. I'm gonna take Louisville. I think kind of like what Jimmy said. Louisville's offense is pretty damn good. They've got one of the best wide receivers in the country. If you guys have not watched him play, he's got one of the funniest names I know. It's Tutu. His name is Tutu Atwell. I think he's like in the top 10. He's one of the top wide receivers on the board. He's tiny, but he's one of those guys that you get in the ball and you let him play. Let's see what he can do with the ball. But yeah, he's fantastic. I'm going to go with Louisville in the offense to, like Jim said, just to outscore.
Yeah, because 2.5's not that much, and
yeah. And you look at Pitt. I keep saying Pittsburgh. They're not Pittsburgh. Pitt. They're 2-0 and ranked, I think, 25 this week. And their wins are against Syracuse. They won 21-10, and Austin Peay, who they thumped 55.
Oh yeah, they throttled them pretty good.
Yeah, Austin Peay is. Oof.
So, you can say the same thing about Louisville. I mean, Louisville did lose to Miami. Miami might be pretty good, but Pitt is 2-0 and Louisville is 1-1.
It's really early, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
Louisville's 1 wins against Western Kentucky. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I'm taking the better of the two offenses, in Louisville definitely has a better offense.
Cool.
All right, so we're gonna go quick back to back on the SEC. We have Florida versus Ole Miss. Florida's minus 14.5. Ole Miss with the Lane Train in town.
Yeah,
14.5 is a lot for Lane Train.
it is.
Jimmy, what are you thinking? It's at Ole Miss.
It is at Ole Miss. Fuck.
Yes.
So I have Florida on here to cover, but I don't know, man. It's the Lane Train.
It is, and he usually puts up a pretty damn good offense.
Yeah, I want to go. I want to go with Ole Miss on this one to cover. But not, obviously not win. So I'm gonna go Ole Miss.
Ole Miss to cover the 14.5. All right, Jimmy or Ryan.
Going with Florida. For the exact opposite reasons that Jimmy stated, which was no reason at all. I know Florida's got the Penn State transfer, and I wish him the best. And Justin Shorter, Justin Shorter.
Yes, that's right. We talked about that. Yeah, the wide receiver.
I don't even know if he's gonna. Is he projected to start? I'm not sure. I assume he is.
I'm gonna have to Google that. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna see how he does. Florida's
pretty good.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to be pretty good this year. Obviously, we haven't seen them play, but
I think they gave LSU their toughest battle last year.
Yeah. We're going with Florida. 14.5 is a lot of points, but Justin Shorter.
That's my whole thing.
Justin Shorter's he is not projected to start.
Okay. He's going to sit on the sidelines and enjoy a win from the sidelines.
He's the backup ex wide receiver.
So okay. Is he back up to
Copeland? Jacob Copeland.
What about, is Trayvon Grimes still there?
He's still there. He's on the other side.
Yeah, he's been there like 15 years after transferring from Ohio State.
Yeah, he's still, Grimes is still there. So we got Penn State and Ohio State wide receiver.
Yep.
I am going to go with Florida. I don't think Lane Train's really had a chance to get his players in there yet. Granted, he's a good coach and he's got good philosophies, but I don't think he's got his players in there yet. Florida, I think they're returning their quarterback on Kyle Trask, who's a pretty good quarterback. Not fantastic. I mean, last year threw for about 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, which, I mean, not terrible, but yeah, pretty good. Not terrible. I mean, he's a senior this year. You guys said we got Justin Shorter, we got Trayvon Grimes. I think that they're going to I think Florida's – I'll go out on a limb and say Florida will be the team coming out of the East in the SEC. I think with Georgia sitting their quarterback, I think Florida's going to be the team coming out. I think they're pretty good and stacked, and they're going to have a pretty damn good team this year. So I'm going to go with Florida to cover the 14.5 against Ole Miss.
Boom.
And I think Ole Miss is wearing their powder blues. What thoughts, Ryan? Go.
That's an instant loss, dude. The powder blues are awful, and they're going to lose because of the uniforms that they're playing in. That's a big part of college football, and players really care about that.
Real talk. I don't like them, but whatever.
I like them. So
yeah, I'm thinking I'm dumb on that part.
And the other side, which I think this one's a little bit more interesting, we have Mississippi State and LSU. LSU, the defending champs, are 16.5-point favorites. However, besides Lane Train, we have Mike Leach at Mississippi State with KJ Costello of senior season quarterback.
Grad transfer.
And I mean, they're looking at 2 touchdowns and a field goal for LSU. Jimmy, what you think? And it is in Death Valley. Granted, it's not the entire crowd.
Oh, it is in Death Valley, but yeah, it's still.
Yeah, it's not the entire crowd, but it is.
I'm gonna go Mississippi State to cover because LSU lost so much. They got a brand new starting quarterback. They lost their best wide receiver. They lost
everything for the love of God.
Lost their coordinator. I think LSU is going to have a rough go of it. LSU is not going to win their division, not even close.
No. I don't. Yeah, I don't.
And I'm not trying to sit here and say Joe. The only reason LSU was so good is because of Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow was there the year before and they didn't have the success they had. My thing was it was LSU with Joe Burrow and Joe Brady.
Those wide receivers.
And those wide receivers who are
those wide receivers
unreal,
are
right?
chaotic.
And they're gone. Like all of them are gone, and their offensive coordinator's gone. And I love me. We listen. You guys know we love us some Ed Orgeron.
Ed Orgeron's a man. They lost Clyde
He's
Edwards-Helaire. They lost Helaire.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mississippi State, and I think they're gonna win.
Whoa.
Ooh,
Okay, I'm gonna
take. Jimmy's got a hot take going.
That's my hot take. I think they're gonna win. I think LSU is they're gonna have a rough go of it.
So pretty much I'm going to stick with my standard here and pick everything that Jimmy doesn't pick. I'm actually going to pick LSU here, and I think they cover the 16.5.
We can win 0-5.
Yeah, because I picked the same. I don't know. Like I said, I was trying to get you guys to catch up a little bit. It worked. Thank you. You're welcome. Whatever. Moving on. Picking LSU. Yes, they lost a lot of people. I just looked up their recruiting class from last year. They were top 5 recruiting class. So I see Ed Orgeron. I don't see LSU becoming that team where they have seniors leave. I don't see them that's how I view like Michigan State and Iowa and those type of teams where they build up for 3 years, they have a really good senior class, and then they're shit for 3 years, and they build that up, and then they're shit for 3 years, and they, you know what I mean?
So
I think LSU is more of a
OU basketball. OU basketball the same way.
Yeah. but OU football is the exact opposite, right? It's
we reload.
We have 10 people leave, go pro, and it doesn't matter because we have 7 guys, 10, 15 more guys ready to fill their spot,
Well, yeah. I mean, we lost Baker Mayfield, and okay, there's Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's gone. Here's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is gone, and Ohio State does the same shit. I mean, a cornerback leaves, cool. Here's 7 other NFL ready players. Go.
So that's my point. So good teams do that. Alabama does it. Like OU does it. Ohio State does it. These teams are really good at that. Clemson does it. I think Ed Orgeron is building. I'm not going to say a dynasty, but I think Ed Orgeron is building a program to stand the test of time. And when they do lose these players, they move on, and they have the next guys coming in, and they're set. So losing 10 players is a lot, and they've had guys opt out and all that stuff. But I still think LSU's be a pretty good team this year. They named their starter this week. I don't know how good he is. We'll see. I just wouldn't be. Yeah, I just wouldn't be surprised if we see LSU and we go, wow, who's this kid? Or, hey, wow, these 2 wide receivers are great. Or, their running game is just as good as it was last year. I see them building off of that. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. And I think
my thing is it's such short amount of time to lose so much.
Yeah.
And that's hard. That's hard because Mike Leach comes in and he immediately instills a system, and that system is built on the ability to just fling the ball all over the field, and that is a tough one.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stick with it though, just because I want to be different.
Yeah, so I am going to go Mississippi State.
Ross?
Oh, you cut out.
Well, we have technical difficulties, everybody. Ross is gone.
There he is.
Ross, you back?
There, dude.
Yeah, you back? I'm back.
Hey, yeah, you're back.
So start that all over. You're picking Mississippi State and go.
I'm picking Mississippi State, and the reasoning. And Ryan, I think everything you said is right. That I think the recruiting of Ed Orgeron, I think he's doing a fantastic job. I think they're going to have talent up and down the boards. However, for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, LSU has had talent up and down the boards. Look at the people that they have put in the league with Leonard Fournette, OBJ, cornerbacks, wide receivers. Yep. They've put so many freaking people into the league.
To win by 13, 13.
Well, but I think the big thing, the difference last year was Joe Brady and the system they had.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He followed Joe Burrow, right?
No.
Yeah. No, he didn't. But I think if you would have put Joe Brady as an offensive coordinator, as some of these other teams that had Leonard Fournette or OBJ, I think that LSU would have been more of a powerhouse. I think LSU is going to have a ton of talent. I don't think they're going to have the scheme for it, and I think they're going to have a massive fall off. They're going to be loaded. They're going to have NFL talent off the boards when it comes to March. I think there's going to be a lot of LSU players gone, I just don't think they're going to have the scheme to do it.
Right.
And I think
he went to Carolina, by the way.
Yeah,
that's right. And Mississippi State, like Jimmy said, with Mike Leach, I mean, you can't name a place Mike Leach hasn't gone that they haven't just put up astronomical numbers.
Yeah.
He did it at OU when
Washington State.
Yeah, when Bob Stoops first got there, Mike Leach was there, and that's when we were running that spread offense and putting up with everything. Texas Tech was idiotic. Washington State, I don't see why it'll be any different at Mississippi State. So
again,
just looking this up, so LSU has the number 1 quarterback in the country coming in, number 2 running back in the country coming in, and they're
playing this year or coming in for next year.
They're coming in this year, so this is their freshman year. So I don't like.
So you're talking about true freshmen learning a brand new offensive system.
Hey, they're gonna national championship LSU. Here they go. Also, they have an outside linebacker who is number 2 outside linebacker in the country from Flower Mound, Texas, which is my hometown. He played.
Oh, yeah.
He played at the rival school of my high school. So that's pretty interesting.
So all right. So Ryan, you're the outlier on that.
You guys are best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends. I know him. Actually, probably
Ryan blows
old enough
me
to
on
be his
the
dad.
weekend.
But, probably old enough to be his dad. But
last SEC game, Tennessee versus South Carolina. Tennessee is favored by 3.5.
An interesting one.
Jim?
South Carolina right now is sitting at 0-0.
None of them have played yet. The SEC starts this week.
Right.
And Tennessee, Tennessee always comes into the season. Everybody's thinking this is the year Tennessee comes back. And you look at it, they're ranked 15 right now, preseason. And I want to say they just named their starter, and their starter is not the starter they had last year. Like their starter from last year got beat out.
It's that Guarana Wanatanatu.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And I can't remember who replaced him, or who we replaced. But I don't know, man. I'm hard pressed, and it's in South Carolina.
What you got, Jim?
I'm going with South Carolina on this one. Because I have yet to believe in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Tennessee just because Jimmy picked South Carolina, but I could give 2 shits about this game because it's both these teams. So
Yeah,
let's go with Tennessee. They're ranked. There's got to be something behind that. They're playing.
It's a solid reason to go with them. They're ranked.
Hey, they're.
So
I haven't heard
Oklahoma
anything about
State.
South Carolina this year. Oh yeah,
They stuck by Tulsa.
that's
Sure
true.
lost that game.
Yeah, we'll go with Tennessee.
Okay. So shocker, I've done research on this stuff.
Yeah.
And I know college football. So this game I think is very interesting. I think Tennessee's got a lot of things that are interesting. Like this is the first time Tennessee's entering a season with the same offensive coordinator as the previous year in 5 seasons.
Jesus.
So that bodes well for Tennessee. Same thing. However, their first and second string running backs have opted out of the season. Their top returning running back has like 40 carries or something in his career. So with all of that, with Tennessee and South Carolina, I don't know too much about South Carolina. I'm going to go with Tennessee. They have the veteran quarterback that's now been in a system for the same system for more than a year. And at some point, like you said, Jimmy, like Tennessee always lets down. They always do. At
Always.
some point, you'd think that they'd turn it around at some point. And I'm not saying Tennessee's going to go beat Alabama, Auburn, or any of those goddamn teams, but come on, you can beat South Carolina for the love of God. I mean,
Yeah.
you can beat the Cox. So I'm going to go with Tennessee, and I'm not going to say this is the most confident of my 6 picks this week, but I'm going to go with Tennessee. We'll see what happens. Last 2 games of the week, we're going to my conference, the Big 12, which has looked like dog shit. If anybody hasn't watched the Big 12, unless OU or Texas is playing, don't watch. because it is trash. It is hot garbage. So first game, we're going to go. I think it's a little interesting. West Virginia versus Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's quarterback Spencer Sanders got hurt, sat out. They still have Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace, some great freaking weapons. And then we got West Virginia, who they actually were one of the very few teams that looked legit when the Big 12 played.
Yeah, would they put up like 55?
Yeah, they pretty much went in. Granted, they didn't play anybody, played Eastern Kentucky, but they did what they were supposed to do. Went in and won 56-10. Game over. So we'll go with you, Jim, first. West Virginia, Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State by 8.5.
Yeah, it's not fair on this one just because
it's in Stillwater, by the way.
It's in Stillwater. Yeah, it's kind of not fair on this one because I'm going with West Virginia just because I'm not sure if Spencer Sanders is going to play.
And he's questionable right now.
Watching them play against Tulsa last week, they just Chuba could not get going.
Yeah, he had I think he only had 96 yards and only averaged 3.6 yards a carry, which Chuba Hubbard, I think they said, I saw it at the end, this broke a 13 games straight of 100 yards for Chuba Wallace.
Do they throw to run? Does their offense kind of go through the passing game? So Chuba has
their offense is a lot like Oklahoma's. We could sling the ball, but it's built off the run.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've got a good enough passing game. It's pick your poison. What are you going to do? But they run out of the shotgun, and their offense looks a lot like Oklahoma's. They do run the ball. So they put up so many points, people think they sling it around like Texas Tech of old or something, but they run the ball more than they throw the ball.
Yeah.
So here's my thought process on this one. Not necessarily just because Spencer Sanders is out, but you've got two teams who over the past 5 years, and more so with Oklahoma State, are known for their offensives and not so much for their defense. So
yes.
Yeah, so with that being said, my thought process was it's probably going to be high scoring. I think both offenses are going to come in there. I think they're going to play really well. And if Spencer Sanders is still questionable, doesn't play, I think it could be tighter than it could be because we're talking about Chuba Hubbard, who couldn't really get running against Tulsa.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that Chuba Hubbard can't run all over the field against West Virginia. I'm just saying if Spencer Sanders is not that third weapon at Oklahoma State, it's going to be harder for them to put up the points. So I think it's still going to be tight.
Right. So, Ryan, to answer your question, looking at the Tulsa-Oklahoma State game, granted Spencer Sanders was out, so they're working with a second and third string. So, granted the amount of throws are going to go down. But Oklahoma State threw the ball 20 times and ran the ball 50 times.
Right.
Yeah.
So they are definitely a run-first offense. Granted, it's out of the shotgun and stuff, but, they run the ball.
Yeah, Chuba Hubbard ran for 2,000 yards.
So, I guess I'll roll into my point on that. So I am going to take Oklahoma State in here. I'm not sure because you said it earlier, Ross. Their third string quarterback looked better than their second string. Once he came into the game, it kind of gave him that spark. He was hitting passes down the sidelines to Wallace, and
he came in one series and was 4 for 5 for 74 yards.
I wonder what kind of decisions they make during the week. Maybe Gundy is like, hey, we're going to go with the rook. We're going to go with the freshman. We'll let him get in there and start winging it around if Spencer doesn't play, right?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, because, the guy who came in, Ethan Bullock, I mean, looking at him, he's a junior. He's 6'3", 215. Shane Illingworth, which I don't know much about him. He's a true frosh out of California. Yep. He's 6'5", 220.
And the small crowd that they had there, the announcer said it. I watched that game, and they were saying that, he kind of gave a spark to the crowd. All the true Oklahoma State fans knew who he was. They can't wait to see him. He kind of came in and gave a little bit of spark to the offense. Obviously, they still didn't win by much, but.
Oh, yeah, they got the most important thing, which was a win. Yeah. Granted, it wasn't the most.
It wasn't pretty.
I would not say it was pretty.
They were down for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
So my pick is I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. No matter who they have starting a quarterback, hopefully it's not that second stringer because he was pretty poor. But if it's their third or first stringer, I got a feeling if they're able to catch some passes down the sidelines, make the defense be honest, and that way Hubbard has space to run in the middle of the field. And
So interesting.
Football is a very finicky game. If you could have the best running back in the league, but if you don't have a quarterback that can throw 10 yards down the field or whatever, if you can't get first downs on passing plays or something like that.
They can load the box and you're screwed.
Yeah, then I see it I'll get to the NFL later, but I see it in the NFL all the time. If defenses can just load the box, then it really puts a top tier running back like Hubbard, behind the eight ball. But
yeah. So this kid, I just looked at Shane Illingworth. He's true freshman, class of 2020, 6'5", 220. Number 6 pocket passer in the country. Number 16 player out of California. 4-star out of California. So
yep.
Had offers from damn near everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, he's 6'5", 220 pocket passer.
Yeah, which I mean,
gigantic.
That's what she said. That's a lie. I never got
I've
that.
never heard that in my life.
Never mind.
But yeah, but bounce back game for Oklahoma State too. They're gonna no matter what happens. They got to be able to recover from this and come back angry and.
Yeah,
I agree with you. If they are able to come back and say, "Hey, we played like crap against Tulsa, and we're gonna lay it down on West Virginia," they definitely could. They got, like you said, they have the weapons.
Yep.
Yeah, so. I'm gonna go with Ryan on this one and go Oklahoma State. Pretty much for that last reason you said. I haven't done the research or the stats of it, but Oklahoma State only scored 16 points. I'm clicking through it. That never happened in 2019. That never happened in 2018. That never happened in 2017. Never happened in 2015. I'd probably have to go back. Freaking shit! I'm at 2010. I don't know when it's happened ever. So I think with Tylan Wallace, who is. Chuba Hubbard's a stud and arguably the best running back in the country, and a stud, and I think will probably be the first running back off the board next year. I thought he might have been the first back off the board this year if he came out. The biggest weapon they have is Tylan Wallace. That guy is unfreaking real. He had one play.
I don't know. Against West Virginia is awesome pass coverage.
Woo, yeah. Ryan, you brought it up before we started recording. Like the first pass that freshman threw, he literally just tossed it up, and Tylan Wallace just jumped up, pulled like a 360 in the air, pulled it down 45 yards, like boom, here we go.
Yeah, and that Tulsa cornerback is like one of the better cornerbacks in the country too. It's not like he did it against some scrub. That guy,
he's good.
From what they were saying on the broadcast, like he's a NFL level player. Yep.
Yeah, he won't be first round, but he will be playing on Sundays.
Yep.
And Tylan Wallace just did it. So I agree. I think Oklahoma State is going to ratchet up the offense. Their defense looks like straight trash, but that doesn't change anything about Oklahoma State because that's what they do. I'm going to go with Oklahoma State. I think they come back and I think they're going to put it on West Virginia pretty hard. I think it's pretty nasty. Regardless of Spencer Sanders plays. If Spencer Sanders or the freshman play, I think so. If they play that second stringer, God knows what's going to fucking happen. Yeah. And then Mike Gundy should be fired because he's got.
Listen, Mike Gundy's not known for making like the best decisions in the entire world.
No, he's not. He's an idiot. Okay, so last game, Big 12, not as exciting, but we have two great coaches in my mind. Iowa State, Matt Campbell, and TCU and Gary Patterson. It's at TCU. Iowa State's favored by 2.5. Jim?
I'm gonna go TCU.
You go with Gary.
I'm gonna go with TCU. Iowa State lost to Louisiana.
They did. They
lost to Louisiana. I'm gonna go with TCU.
I'm gonna agree with you on this one, Jim. I'm gonna go with TCU. The one benefit that TCU had week 1 is they didn't play.
True.
They had a postponement, so they don't get to be wrapped up in the whole rest of the Big 12 that look like crap, except for Oklahoma and West Virginia. But TCU might come out. We don't know how good they are. I don't think they're supposed to be that good this year, but we know what Iowa State is. We know that Iowa State's a team that can lose to Louisiana. So,
Well, right,
Yeah.
and I mean, Gary Patterson. I mean, granted, TCU was not that great last year. He's good enough coach that you don't keep him down very long.
No.
Give it a year or two, and if TCU has a down year, if it's not the next year, it's the year after that. TCU's back firing all cylinders. With that, I'm going to go with the Cyclones.
Bounce back game, huh?
Well, I think Iowa State did lose to Louisiana. Brock Purdy, the quarterback for Iowa State, he didn't play with it against Louisiana, but he's a damn fine quarterback. He's very, very good. I think Iowa State on offense was still trying to – it was very sputtery. They're still trying to figure out their identity, I think, what's going on. And, I mean, granted, Louisiana won, but they won by the big plays.
Yep.
I mean, they had I think it was a kickoff return for a touchdown. They held – granted, it's not fantastic, but, they did hold Louisiana to 280 yards of offense in the game, or 272, and still gave up 31 points. That's not on the defense.
Yep.
The defense did their job. You hold somebody – like this day and age, you hold somebody to 270 yards of offense – you're expecting to win the game, but when you have 2 turnovers, they have none, and you give up a punt return or a kickoff return for a touchdown, and your quarterback plays like dog shit, that's how it goes. So I think Iowa State's going to bounce back. I think they will beat TCU by a field goal, at least. I'm going to go with the Cyclones and Matt Campbell.
Nice.
Solid.
Slicey.
So that's kind of – we've been going for a little while. But yeah, I think we're going to hit on a little bit on the NFL. Jim, I don't know if you got anything from baseball. The season is coming to a little bit of close.
There's only after today, there's only 5 games left before the postseason.
Yeah, we're going to hit NFL a little bit. And Ryan's kind of our little NFL guru more than us. Like I said, he actually sits down and watches games constantly. I don't, and Jimmy, I don't think we have games on and stuff. But Ryan will actually sit down and watch games.
Sunday was probably the most NFL games I actually watch.
I've been watching a game during this whole podcast.
That's right. Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
All right, so Ryan, what are your thoughts? We're 2 weeks into the season.
Okay, let's start off with my Cowboys. That was one of the more amazing comebacks that I've seen in Cowboys history.
No, stop there. That was one of the more amazing comebacks I've seen in NFL history.
Game.
That was pretty amazing.
It was amazing. I'll give you that.
That's one of those ones where I don't know if Atlanta runs the worst prevent defense in the history of the NFL. I don't know what it is. Dak played lights out. I'm a big Dak guy. I think he gets a lot of praise, but I still think he's underrated. I think he's worth. Us three have had the conversation the past 3 years about Dak and contract talks and all that stuff. I even said back then, I think he's worth the money. You found a quarterback that can win. You find a guy that,
except in the playoffs. Let's be on the point.
He has won in the playoffs, but yes, okay.
All right, okay.
I didn't beat Seattle. Pretty good. Anyhow, moving on. I think he found a proven leader. I think he showed it this Sunday. For him to keep his team in the game after 3 fumbles in the first quarter, after going down 20-0, after being down 29-10 in the first half.
Yeah, for him, that's what I saw was that score.
He made a big jump last year, and he was always talented. And he came in and surprised the hell out of a lot of people as a rookie, but made a big jump in
I think
arm talent.
I think he's proven he can make the throws.
He's a good dude. I like Dak.
Yeah, I think there's not really too many bad things you can say about Dak. I don't think anyone's really had a bad word about Dak. He's a competitor.
Yeah,
and
I honestly think if you're going to say anything bad about, you're just hating on the Cowboys in general, which happens a lot.
Yeah, I do it all the time.
Wait,
So I mean that's one of the big storylines this week is the Cowboys come back. It gives a little bit of a boost to the season for the Cowboys. We have been riddled with injuries here in the first half of the season, or the first couple of games of the season.
Oh God, yeah, it's been terrible.
We started
man.
so two rookie tackles, so rookie left tackle, rookie right tackle in that game. That's
I was just talking about the NFL in general.
Right. It's pretty hard to win when you have a rookie left and right tackle playing in the same game. Cowboys did a good job. Their offensive line came together in the second half. I still think Zeke looks like he is fresher than he has been in the past 3 seasons. He looks more like rookie season Zeke. I don't know what happened. I don't know if he cut a little bit of weight or something, but
I got that feed me,
I don't know
dude.
if you guys,
That feed me tattoo.
That's what I was
I don't know
saying.
if you guys saw it,
on
but
his stomach.
yeah, I mean that's an awful tattoo. I don't want to talk about that, but
Listen, he's from Ohio State. He's my boy, and he's representing the Buckeyes. But that's a terrible.
Somebody that doesn't have
and he looks like an Ewok.
somebody who doesn't look like an Ewok or something. How about CD Lamb? Woo! Real deal.
I
He's
forget
real
what I was
deal.
watching today or yesterday. Dak legitimately has 3 number 1 wide receivers on the same team. Michael Gallup is a number 1 big time down the field jump ball catching wide receiver. He proved it in the fourth quarter. CeeDee Lamb is this possession-based wide receiver that can just run every single route in football.
Get the ball in his hand and see what he can do.
Right. And then you have the best wide receiver on the team, which is Amari Cooper, who just does both of those things.
Amari Cooper just speaks for himself. You just say the name Amari Cooper, and you're like, all right, enough said. Yeah, Amari.
And sneakily, our second-string tight end that no one knows of, Dalton Schultz, had 9 catches for almost 100 yards and a touchdown, a great touchdown catch in the fourth quarter. Like, Dak's got weapons, and you put it all together. You get the offensive line back. You shore up the defense. You know, Cowboys. I mean, I instantly went from they are not even going to sniff the playoffs to the Eagles losing. That helps. And
I was going to say the big thing for you doing wrong. I think the Cowboys had a fantastic a comeback.
Yep.
You gave up 39 points to the Falcons.
Right.
Which
who also put up like 500 yards against Seattle the week before.
Yeah, they don't have a
their offense is good. Their defense is trash.
Yeah.
I think the best thing going for you guys is your division is absolutely. It's probably the worst division in NFL.
I'm not gonna argue that one. I think that might be the worst division of football.
Yeah,
and I don't think
the New York Giants are trash. They just lost Saquon to an ACL.
Yep.
So they're like top guy. They're what they're going to build their football team around. He gone.
If you want to talk about stacking the box, like that is a team you can stack the box against the Giants. And I think what's his name, Daniel
Jones.
Daniel Jones. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's got a bright future, but I mean, it's not there yet. He doesn't have the weapons yet. Like they have some weapons, but their offensive line's garbage, and now they lose Saquon for the rest of the year. God. I mean, it's going to be pretty disastrous for the Giants the rest of the year. But
and the Phillies look like trash, absolute trash.
Yeah, Ryan, you brought it up. What happened to the Eagles? They won a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
Yeah, they won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. They look like one of the better teams. They looked resilient. They look like, I mean, you could literally, what other team in football can lose a quarterback and win a playoff and win the Super Bowl? Like, I don't understand. Lose an MVP caliber because Carson Wentz was on an MVP season that year, and then all of a sudden lose him, and then you win the Super Bowl. I mean,
that's not only like win the Super Bowl, but I mean, like Foles played. They beat the New England Patriots, like the dynasty of all dynasties. Right. They went through and won that,
and they beat them by out coaching them too. And that's the thing that's crazy. Like, did Doug Peterson just forget how to coach? Like I mentioned that to Jimmy. Like, did teams just figure out what he's doing and kind of know what he's doing?
Zach Taylor left. That's what I'm saying. Zach Taylor left, the quarterback coach.
The Eagles have a great offensive line. They got a good young running back. They got weapons. They got 2 really good tight ends. They got a good defense. Like I just don't get the Eagles, but I'm happy.
Racist wide receiver.
Oh, wait, that was like 6 years ago.
Jimmy's bringing up old shit.
Deshaun Jackson. Never mind.
Deshaun
Jackson quoted Hitler.
Yeah.
So they've had 2 racist wide receivers.
Yeah. And the Redskins are surprising me this year. Like they went and got stomped by the Cardinals, but there's something there with the Redskins, and
I don't want to discount the Cardinals. I don't want to discount the Cardinals.
I was about to say the Cardinals
because Kyler's playing his butt off, dude.
Yeah.
Well, and they said it, and granted, it's a homer.
And they got B-Hop. They got obviously.
It's a homer because it was Oklahoma Sports Talk Radio, but they were saying, and granted, we're only 2 weeks in the season. MVP, you cannot count Kyler Murray out right now.
I don't think so. And you say what you want about the Cardinals, like they're pretty stacked talent-wise. DeAndre Hopkins changes everything. That guy is a game changer. Like
I think
he works harder than any other wide receiver that I see in the NFL. Like he makes the hard cut. He does the dirty work that most
wide receivers don't do.
Yeah, like I don't know how to say that without like making sound bad. But
you're talking about like the diva wide receivers.
Yeah, but I think one of the biggest things
stuff like that.
With D-Hop getting there is, so last year and the 30 years prior to that, you had Larry Fitzgerald. Who's definitely getting up there in years, but like
still solid. He's still got those hands.
Well, yeah, no, he's still solid, but like at his age right now, he's not a number one. So he was an easy number one cover. Like you put your number one cornerback on him, and he's going to shut him down. Okay, well now you got to put your number one wide receiver or cornerback on DeAndre Hopkins, which good luck. And then now you have your number two going against Larry Fitzgerald, which I'll take Larry Fitzgerald over a bunch of number two cornerbacks. Like he's still, I mean, he's not going to get your big plays or anything, but you want a solid 5 to 10 yards. He got hands. Give him the ball.
Yep.
And Kyler.
Oh, then you got to worry about Kyler. Like that's the
and then by the way, still fast as crap.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
remember watching him in college, and like that guy goes from 0 to top speed in less than. He's insane.
Yeah, he's one of the most ultimate athletes. Just what he could do with everything. And I remember like a lot of people, like when he got drafted, before he got drafted, they were talking. They're like, well, yeah, he pulls away from people, but this is a college game. Is he going to be able to pull away from players in the NFL? Oh yeah, no. He pulls away from players in the NFL. Like
the answer is yes.
He can definitely.
He's a young Russell Wilson, and I don't know if.
Well, I'd say he can run better than. He can definitely be faster.
I just mean his like composure and the way that he like can lead the team, and it seems like his decision making is damn near on point every single play, and that's what separates Russell. I mean, his deep ball is the best deep ball in football now, I think. But by the way, Russell Wilson's my favorite quarterback in the NFL. And
I was about to
say, he's very good.
Yep. Talent. I mean, Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are great, but
you just said favorite.
He's my favorite quarterback in the NFL. And I think Kyler is in his image of the way he plays, the way he leads his team, the way he's composed, the way he, makes decisions. I just feel like he's on the same level as.
He doesn't get hit hard. He knows when to slide. He knows when to run out of bounds.
I would say Russell Wilson is the most underrated quarterback in the NFL because he's fantastic. He's absolutely fantastic. But when you ask the top quarterbacks, unless you watch a lot of football, you always hear Aaron Rodgers, Lamar, Mahomes.
It's tough.
Those guys are great, but Russell Wilson's like right up there. And I saw I saw some stat, and it was the most absurd stat that like he's the only quarterback to have his stats that he's had in his career and never receive a single first place MVP vote.
It's tough because he's playing in an era where quarterbacks rule the game right now.
Right.
Quarterbacks rule the game. Like you said, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes,
the biggest thing about Russell Wilson is he paved the way for this new quarterback.
Yeah.
Remember when he came in, everybody thought he was small.
Yeah.
And they went he was for the time and the way the game was being played. He was small. And then he came in and freaking tore it up, which, I mean, I'm not saying that they're bad athletes or bad football players, obviously, because they're Sooners. But I don't know if Kyler and Baker would be where they are if Russell Wilson wouldn't have panned out. Because a lot of people said, oh, yeah, he's small. But, I mean, Russell Wilson did it, so why can't Baker do it? Yep. I mean, if you can't make that comparison – not saying Baker would obviously, and especially Kyler, both of them, obviously they would have gotten the NFL. Would they have been first-round draft picks? I don't know without Russell Wilson. I don't know.
So in my opinion, Russell Wilson's leading the MVP vote. I don't have it up right now, but I know he had over 400 yards the first game, 4 touchdowns. He had 500 yards yesterday. Right. Against New England, right? He is torching teams that he shouldn't be torching. I mean, Atlanta's obviously not very good, but.
Hey, Ryan?
Yeah.
Quick, hot take. Dallas for Seattle next week. Who you got?
Ooh.
I mean,
once you said that, I was like, ooh, I got to take this one.
So, yeah. That's an easy one for me. Seattle's looking I mean, damn near unstoppable. But I mean, Cam, that game did come down to the wire. I don't know if you guys watched that game last night, but it was a classic. I mean,
It was a very good.
I heard.
game.
I heard
It was
good.
Cam's
it was
playing his butt
first
off
and
too,
goal,
man.
4 seconds left on like the 2 or 3 yard line. Like New England's going in to win the game, and Seattle got a big stop. Like that's
I got to share something. One of my buddies from back home said he's a big New England Patriots fan. Early on, Tom Brady had thrown a pass, thrown a touchdown pass, right? And he goes, "Man, all you people talk about TB12 being a system quarterback, man. And look, I don't hear any words now." And he finished the game with, I think, 1 touchdown and 1 interception.
right.
And now he's sitting at 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Yeah.
On pace for 24 and 24.
So we can move to the Tom Brady conversation. I mean, I still think that off. So, Goodwin was out, or Godwin. Godwin was out with a concussion, so Brady loses another weapon. He's still he might be a system guy, and you might be right. He might be a system guy. The thing
Doesn't
is,
mean he's a bad quarterback.
He hasn't learned the system there. Maybe maybe it just takes him 2, 3, 4 weeks to finally figure out the system. And I mean, he still won a game last week. It's not like he went 2 touchdowns, 1
I don't
interception.
think he's bad. I don't think he's bad. It's just I thought it was funny that my buddy, who's a big gigantic Patriots fan, started talking crap to everybody who was talking crap about Tom Brady last week, and he didn't do much better.
Yeah, if you're a type of football fan, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, if you are the type of football fan that talks shit about Tom Brady and says he's not as good as he is, and he was only good because he was at the Patriots, you're just a flaming idiot. Let's be honest.
He's a talented quarterback.
You know what?
He's the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, and
you know what system quarterbacks don't do? Win MVPs.
Win MVPs or win 15 Super Bowls like Tom Brady.
Do you know
did
who was
in 12
the
years.
system quarterback? Alex Smith.
Right.
Like guys those guys that you call generals, they manage the game. They're not winning you a game, but they're putting you in position for your stars to win a game. Tom Brady was a star for sure, and I hate his guts.
Why?
Because he went to Michigan.
Oh, hey,
and everybody knows this.
Ryan, hold on. Where are we at in this recording? Take the time. Notice he said Michigan and not that team up north. Just
ooh, wow.
Say it for the record. Notice that time.
Yep. All right. So what other stories we got in the NFL? I guess the injuries kind of blanketed the whole week.
Yeah, Nick Bosa.
Nick Bosa looks like. I don't think they confirmed that he tore his ACL, but it looked like a torn ACL.
He confirmed it today.
Okay. Baker beat Joe.
Okay.
Hey, Joe tried to.
I would go the other way. I would say Joe beat Baker, but the Browns beat the Bengals. Yeah. So Joe Burrow I did watch Cowherd, and Cowherd and Baker got a little bit of a history, and Cowherd obviously is not a big fan of Baker, doesn't think he's going to be as good as whatever. Joe Burrow proved on a far the Bengals are trash, right?
Yeah.
They are garbage. I mean, they got Joe Mixon, they got
AJ Green.
AJ Green, if you want to get into that, I think he looks like he lost a step. I don't know if he had
he's getting up there,
pulled hamstring or something, but he was not reaching for balls that I thought he would make. He wasn't catching balls that I thought he could catch. AJ Green's getting up there. But I'm saying is Cincinnati is a shithole, and Joe Burrow threw the ball over 60 times and looked like a pro quarterback.
And tried to win that game. He tried to win that game.
I think Joe Burrow's a great quarterback. I think he's going to have a fantastic career. And I can't think of any quarterback, maybe Patrick Mahomes, that you don't have a rookie throw the ball 61 times. You just fucking don't do that in the NFL.
No.
Even the last quarterbacks taken number 1, Kyler and Baker. Baker, granted, he does have Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, which are fantastic running backs. They're running
best 1-2 punch in football.
Yeah, they got a fantastic running back game, so it's a little different. Joe Mixon's great, but Cincinnati's offensive line is hot garbage. Cleveland fixed that this year, which is why I think Baker doesn't have any excuses this year because they have the wide receivers. They shore up their offensive line. I think Baker's got it. But Baker, he had a very good when he came in his rookie year. He had a sophomore slump, which damn near everybody does in the quarterback position. And he came out and he, looking at him, he was 16 for 23, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, had a 98.1 quarterback rating. That's pretty damn good.
They're saying that's his best game that he's ever played. That's how.
But Baker's been in the year for 3 years. He only threw the ball 23 times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow's been in the game for two
games,
and they had him throw
61 times.
And you gotta look at the Browns' defense too. The Browns are loaded on defense. Like,
did Joe Burrow ever throw the ball 61 times at LSU?
Probably.
No.
I doubt it. Because, well, granted, they scored a 50-yard touchdown.
yeah, his first 4 throws are touchdowns. Like,
Right. But I mean, I don't think he's ever when I think 61 throws, I think Texas Tech and Mike Leach.
Yeah.
Or the Washington State or Hawaii back in the day. I mean, 61 times throwing the ball is just fucking absurd.
And let's just hope for not just Cincinnati's benefit or Joe Burrow's benefit. Let's hope that they are able to protect Joe Burrow and they don't burn him out in the first couple years. And I think there's something there with him. And I honestly think that. I mean, he took that team on his shoulders, and that game wasn't a blowout. I mean, they were competing up until the end of the game. Yeah,
they by 5.
Like I said, statistically wise, and the way that Baker was throwing it was it Thursday night, right?
Yes.
The way that he was throwing it, he looked sharp. He looked like he had velocity. He was on point. He threw one bad interception, whatever. But
except for the one throw, he made good decisions. That's the big thing with Baker.
Right.
He's got the arm talent. He's got the physical abilities. It's his damn brain.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And take the blatant pass interference call on Odell Beckham. That was another touchdown. So add another touchdown plus 60 yards on top of his stat line.
Yeah. I mean, you're looking at 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interceptions. And I think Baker's going to. I don't think he's going to be up for the MVP or anything like that. I do think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think he's going to have a lot better stat lines than last year.
He needs to be what Russell Wilson was like last year, because all of a sudden Seattle went to this like super run heavy game where Russell Wilson was throwing the ball only 25, like the past like 2 or 3 years with Russell.
Right.
He's not throwing. I mean, this year's a little bit different. He's airing it out, but I think Metcalf has something to do with that. But before that, like Seattle's running the shit out of the ball. They're not making Russell throw a lot, and he's efficient. He's good. You got literally Cleveland has 200-yard rushers every game. Like they can play Chubb in the first half, get 100 yards, play Kareem Hunt in the second half, get another 100 yards. Like they need to run that offense through those 2 running backs, and Baker is going to look very good if they do that. Yeah,
and I think I mean, and granted, Baker's stat line wasn't fantastic. I'm not saying all of it wasn't his fault, but I mean, I looked it up. I forgot what the exact numbers were, but Baker had, what was it, like 25 interceptions or some shit like that last year.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot. But I forgot, like I was watching ESPN or something. Of his like 20, I'm looking it up right now. I'll give it to you. He had 21 interceptions. Of his 21 interceptions, I think they said like 12 of those hit his wide receiver's hands.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember you talking about that. He got sacked 40 times.
Yeah. So you can't, I mean, not saying that he made the best decisions, but I mean, Aaron Rodgers wouldn't do good if you sacked him 40 times and then if just because you hit your wide receiver in the hands doesn't mean your dude's catching it.
There's a lot of variables because Baker does hold on to the ball. I mean, Dak had those problems early in his career. He's holding on to the ball too much. He took a lot of sacks that he didn't need to take. If Baker,
I think Baker was doing like the Oklahoma, and he did it at OU, and Lincoln got onto him a little bit. That he didn't take the easy down check. He wanted the home run hit. He wanted the deep hit. So he'd have somebody open underneath. He's like, nah, I'm going to go for this one deep. And he's doing that in the NFL. And at Oklahoma, okay, yeah, you could pull that off just because you got wide receivers that are just 10 times better than most cornerbacks. In the NFL, you cannot do that. Even though you have Odell Beckham Jr., who's a fantastic wide receiver, most cornerbacks are equally as good.
Yeah.
They're just as good.
Yeah. You're talking about quarterbacks who were the best cornerbacks on their teams in college.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder how much it affects Baker to have those big personalities on his team, and they're wanting the ball, and he feels like he's got to force it in. I don't know if that changes. I mean, obviously, it's easy for me to say, but how much?
I don't know. Like, since he went to Cleveland, like, he's not as paid attention to as he was. I don't know if his attitude's still there.
He's just not in the media as much. That doesn't mean he doesn't.
I'm sure in the locker room, he's still.
Give me the ball. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You don't really talk about him like losing his shit on the sideline anymore.
No, but I mean that's the big difference. I mean, like if you put Odell Beckham Jr. on say Green Bay, and Odell Beckham Jr. looked at Aaron Rodgers and said, "Give me the damn ball," Aaron Rodgers is looking back and say, "Shove it up your ass."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I'm gonna throw it to the get open and I'll give it to you.
yeah, like, and that's kind of like what Ryan's talking about. Like as a
Yeah,
second,
yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
you have somebody like Odell Beckham like saying, "Give me the ball." Like, oh shit, I got to get this guy the ball. Like, if he's open or not, like shit, I got to give him a chance. Which I think Baker might be getting into that or getting out of that. But yeah,
It felt like he was trying to force way too much last year, holding onto the ball way too long.
And hopefully the new offensive comes in and somebody realizes what they got. They got 2 number 1 running backs on the team. Let's pound the ball. Let's run the ball. Let's do play action for Baker so he can get it to Odell. And
yeah, that's the offense that their head coach. He was the OC in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, the Baltimore Ravens are arguably the best team. By the way, I do not watch NFL. You guys know this. I think I've said that many times. Sunday night or Monday Night Football next week is the Baltimore Ravens versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch that game.
Yeah, you should. It should be a good one.
That's quite possibly an AFC Championship preview game.
You know, we could actually use that one to go into the Chiefs-Chargers game and talk about Justin Herbert.
Yeah, so I wanted to move to the AFC West here because I mean, Raiders are 2-0. They just beat New Orleans Saints.
That's what I was just going to say. I was like, my prediction for who was going to get Trevor Lawrence, and I said the Oakland Raiders or Las Vegas Raiders. They're now 2-0, and that's not looking too promising on my call. So
so win over New Orleans.
I live in Denver. Got a lot of Denver fans that live here, obviously. They were high on Drew Lock. They think he's good. You know, they think they might have a chance in the division. I mean, they are by far the worst team in the division. Chargers, especially if they start their what's his name Herbert.
Justin Herbert, yeah.
Yeah, if Herbert looked amazing this weekend. He looked calm, composed. He looked everything that we thought he was in college because he kind of had the same mentality in college where doesn't say anything. He's quiet. Everyone looks at him as a leader, and he's just one of those quiet leaders, right? And he showed that on. Yeah.
Like, oh god,
and he's got a cannon.
He's got all the tools.
Yeah, and if they don't start him, maybe the Chargers are thinking, hey, let's do the Pat Mahomes route. Let's let him sit behind Tyrod Taylor for a year. You know, let's see if we can give him a little bit of a buffer to get ready for the NFL. But after seeing him this week, I don't think they should. I think they should. I think they need to use this year as experience for him. And no matter if they win, lose, or whatever, just get him out there, get him to throw the ball. Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the only thing I think Justin Herbert's got all the damn tools in the world, and like, yeah, I mean, looking at his stats, 22 for 33, 311 yards, touchdown, interception
against the Super Bowl champs.
Against the Super Bowl champs, ran for a touchdown. This kid's like, what, 20 years old, and he's doing this against the Super Bowl champs. Like, fantastic. The only thing that I don't that I kind of – I wouldn't say worry. I mean, because I've seen it because I follow OU players more than other players, obviously. And, you know, Sam Bradford getting thrown in there way too early. And, you know, he got hurt. And, I mean, in college, that dude was an animal. He was good. And then he got put on the Rams. He got put in there early and got hurt and running for his life and didn't have any weapons. And he ended up being shit. In the NFL, I mean, granted, she still made a shit ton of money, more money than I'll ever see in my life.
yeah. I don't understand why people don't sign with Sam Bradford's agent.
Yeah, seriously.
So I think that Rams team, and who was the coach back then? It was the old Tennessee guy.
Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher. I think that was a notoriously bad run organization that his last years there. He was one of the coaches that should have been gone way before that. I think the Rams were just a dumpster fire, and I think they kind of ruined Sam Bradford's career. I don't see that in San Diego or in for the Chargers.
I don't see that. But the only thing that I'm looking at is looking at his surrounding cast. I mean, Hunter Henry is a very well. He does and he doesn't. I mean, Hunter Henry is a good tight end. But he gets hurt a lot. When he's healthy, he's a stud.
Allen's awesome.
Yeah, Keenan
Allen's awesome.
He is getting up there. He's been in the league a while. I mean, he's up like 28, 29. So
They have Mike Williams too. Is that?
yeah, Mike Williams is in
Yep.
there.
Eckler.
Who's good, but yeah, but the running game, Eckler
Yeah,
was
well-
good behind Melvin Gordon.
Yes.
As
yeah,
number
yeah, that's-
one. Okay, I mean he's like, don't get me wrong. If I was starting there's probably a lot of number twos I would take over Austin Eckler to start my team on as a running back.
Yeah.
He's not exactly a fantastic. And Joshua Kelly out of UCLA, I remember watching that kid play. Good back, but I mean, shit, I thought he was going to be a special teams player, and he's the number 2 back in San Diego. So, kind of like what you were talking earlier, Ryan. Well, actually, the complete opposite of what you were talking about. Being able, like, they're not going to stack the box. They're going to drop fucking 8.
Yeah.
I mean, shit.
Well,
if you want Austin Eckler to beat us,
Right,
okay.
but look at it like this. If the Chargers are like, okay, we know we're probably not going to win this division because we're in the same division as the Chiefs and
Raiders and Broncos.
Well, the Raiders look good.
the
I mean, that's
Raiders
the
now.
thing. Like,
And the Raiders-
do look
so
good.
they
And
go,
got-
okay, and there's some good running backs coming out. It's like you don't sign a big gigantic free agent. You know,
No.
obviously you're not going to do that because you just let Melvin Gordon go because you don't want
Right.
to pay your running back.
But the thing is, Jim, and I get what you're saying, and the team can think that, or the management can think that, and everything. But if you put Justin Herbert in there with that thought, regardless of the thought is, if he sucks it up, he's not going to go, well, I sucked it up, but I didn't have any weapons. I'm okay. It's going to hit his ego, and it's going to hit his ego
that's fair.
hard. So you've got to worry about that. So it's kind of like the same thing of like, all right, well, so let's put it this way. If you put Justin Herbert in, are you making the playoffs? Go ahead and say no, because we know it.
No,
They're not
going to make the playoffs.
So then why?
But you put
they have a
Tyrod
chance.
Taylor-
They have a
yeah,
chance for a wild card. I mean, it like depends on like how good he is. Like if they start,
Here's the question
they-
though: if they put in Tyrod Taylor, do they make the playoffs?
No,
No.
absolutely not. They don't.
I think-
But I mean, I don't think they make it with Justin Herbert. So I was like, well, why would you risk hurting this kid's ego, fucking scarring him for life? Because we don't know what these kids deep down what they think. You just fucking sit his ass.
do you think that hurt his ego this week though? Like
No,
I,
I
mean,
think
I
he
guarantee
felt
he.
good.
I think that whole team that might be the best loss that team's had in a while.
They
Like,
almost beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well,
Yeah,
then, right.
in overtime.
But don't get me wrong, and I think Justin Herbert's all the world, and I think he has the ability to be a great running back or a quarterback. Did the Chiefs have any film on Justin Herbert?
no.
No,
not even
not
like
college.
yeah, not like college. Okay, who gives a fuck? I guarantee you they didn't watch any college film of Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Carolina, Tampa Bay, New Orleans coming up with Justin Herbert possibly playing. Do you think they're going to watch and study that kid? Oh, I guarantee you they will. So I think, not saying that he won't do good, but I think it will dial back a little bit.
The one thing we haven't talked about is how good the Chargers defense looked. I mean, for them to hold.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick Bosa is
Fantastic.
right now.
They're
He's the best Bosa in the league, obviously.
because the other
or
Bosa's-
Joey
yeah,
Bosa, yeah.
Joey
Yeah.
Bosa, yeah, Nick's hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, Joey Bosa is still a game record. The one thing I noticed, like I watched that game, he sat out almost like the last drive of the game, like he was completely gassed, and that might be just because the beginning of the year they didn't have training camp and all that stuff, but he literally pulled himself out of the game for like the last like important part of the game, you know, which was pretty interesting to watch. But Derwin James is a all-world, you know.
Who's Ingram, the linebacker, right? Outside linebacker.
Yeah, they're stacked on defense too. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think Denver is. I think the whole, and I've said this for years. I think the John Elway experiment is kind of run its course. It's really hard to fire John Elway in Denver because he's the golden child that Denver has always had. And I've been saying it to people here, and they get pissed off every time I say it. I think he's one of the worst GMs in football. I think he did a great job and benefited when he brought in Peyton Manning, which was a no-brainer. It's like, hey, you brought in Peyton Manning. You know, it's
that's
like,
the biggest thing he did. It won him a Super Bowl, right? But it's Peyton Manning. He's been a terrible drafter.
Dude, Drew Lock, and people are really high on Drew Lock because he went like 5-1 at the end of the year last year.
Yeah.
Drew Lock is not the guy. Like I've watched him play, and I'm obviously the best like judge of quarterbacks in the world, so I know everything. But He's just not, to me, he's just not the guy. He's just another one in a long line of Paxton Lynch's and whoever the hell else in Denver that they've had,
Chad Kelly.
Bring this up. You're talking about like San Diego's defense looking, I'm not going to say best in league, but they look legit.
They're solid. Yep.
The guy who leads the team in tackles. Anybody? Nobody?
Joey
wait, I got it. Hold on.
Rookie linebacker Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma.
Oh, shit.
He's got 18 tackles this year.
That boy racks up the tackles.
I was going to say LaDainian Tomlinson.
No, Kenneth Murray. What are we talking about? He's 6'2", 240.
David Boston.
Or as a rookie, he's fantastic.
Remember David Boston?
He did steroids before every single game.
His biceps were bigger than my house.
I think, didn't he get busted 2 or 3 times for steroids and then just left the NFL? You never heard anything from him?
Yeah, he had one good year in Arizona, signed a big gigantic free agent deal in San Diego, and then never even came close to matching those numbers. He was a weird guy. I loved him at Ohio State, obviously, but
so kind of my takeaways from the season so far of the NFL. The NFC East is the worst, and honestly, I think Dallas is probably going to walk away with it. They might go 8-8 and win the division. Right. I mean, I probably see the way you're going to probably sweep the division, win 10 games, even though I know division games are, 50-50 just because of the way it is. I still think that the NFC East is absolutely fucking garbage. So I see the Cowboys winning 10 games at least and walking away with the division easily. Kansas City looks fantastic. Tennessee, the way they're throwing the ball. Ryan Tannehill looks fantastic this time.
He looked good, man.
Oh my god!
Didn't he get a contract last year or at the beginning of this year?
I don't know.
Extension or something like that.
He got comeback. Did he get?
Because he was
comeback
coming in
player of the year last year. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks. I mean, shit. You want to talk about granted, it's 2 weeks in. MVP. I mean, the dude has 500 yards and 6 touchdowns and no interceptions. All right, what else do you want?
Yeah,
with Derrick Henry.
With Derrick Henry in the backfield, yeah.
That's got to be a guy that's up there for coach of the year, because if you look at what's his name, the Patriots guy, coach for Tennessee.
Oh my God. Mike Vrabel.
Mike Vrabel. Yeah, the way that he's turned that team around. I mean, they were just out of nowhere last year, and they went into the playoffs, and they beat Baltimore in the playoffs, right? And
they smashed.
Yeah. I mean,
beat Baltimore, they beat New England, and then they lost to Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a big surprising team in the NFL. I mean, obviously this year it's not a big surprise because they've seen them, but yeah, they're a fun team to watch. And
Mike Vrabel's a hard-nosed guy. He demands toughness out of his players, and that's just a fact.
Yeah, it's hard not to like that.
Tennessee, you can't say that Tennessee's not a tough team, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I do think. I mean, Kansas City is gonna be hard to top, but I mean, seeing what I've seen from everybody so far and seeing the highlights of, to me, as of week 2, the Super Bowl is going to come down to Baltimore and Kansas City. As of right now, I think those are easily the best 2 teams looking in football right now.
Seattle, man, that's the
they'd
team,
be on
man.
the other side.
Well, I mean, I was just say
because Baltimore, they're both NFC.
Well, right, but I think right now I think the winners
between the two of them.
AFC.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah. By the way, Ross, we might have to say we might be wrong about Metcalf.
Oh, I know, right?
That boy is a monster.
Yeah, we were definitely wrong with them. I think Ryan, I agree. I think
DJ Metcalf.
DJ, yeah, I said Derek.
Okay.
Yeah, DJ.
Seattle looks good, and they do have, like we talked about earlier, one probably, if not the best quarterback in the NFL right now, easily a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, and Russell Wilson behind the helm. I just think they're going to make the playoffs, but it's just more than getting beat up. I mean, they're going to have to play Arizona, and Arizona looks fan-fucking-tastic.
Yep.
You got to play the Rams. Rams look pretty good, and I mean, shit, they were in the Super Bowl.
That's a bounce back team, man. It looks like their offense is starting to click again.
Yeah, they're getting back. I mean, and
just looking at back too. Jeez.
Well, I mean, just looking at Seattle, I mean, they got to play Dallas, Arizona twice, the Rams twice. I mean, it's going to be
You haven't talked about the 49ers, and the 49ers did have some injuries this week, and
They
we'll see how they do.
They
But I
had
mean,
more than some. They had a lot.
If you want to talk about the exact opposite of the NFC East, I mean, that division is probably the best division in football, top to bottom.
Yeah.
Was the AFC West?
Yeah, they have NFC West.
NFC West.
Oh, NFC West. Excuse me. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sorry.
With Baltimore, I'm not 100. I think they look really good, but I think Pittsburgh kind of has a bit of a bounce back year this year.
Yeah, they're definitely better at quarterback. That's for sure. With Big Ben being back, they still. So Connor finished the game against Denver with over 100 yards, but that's after like a 50-yard run.
Yeah.
Like they're still having a real hard time running the ball. They've dropped their I believe their right tackle and their right guard. They're both injured. DeCastro's still out, who's an All-Pro. Right.
Well, I mean,
defense is very good.
You guys like don't get me wrong. Big Ben is. I mean, he's still really good. He's getting up there.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Pittsburgh can't do it because they're one of the best collectively ran organizations in sports.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easily, like the way they draft, the way they build. Like, don't get me wrong about Pittsburgh. Get that. But I mean, Drew Lock didn't play shit. You got Jeff Driscoll who comes
didn't
in.
Didn't have Lindsey either.
Cortland Sutton didn't play, and
by the way, another guy tore ACL. He's out for the year.
Right, and Pittsburgh beat him by 5 points.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think Denver actually showed some gusto there, and I don't want to hammer on Denver too much, but they did show that they're willing to go out there and grind and play and all that stuff. And Denver's defense looked pretty good, but
yeah, but I mean, like Baltimore, they played the Browns, which the Browns. I mean, they might win 8 games.
Yeah,
9 games. We'll see. Blasted them out of the fucking water. Played Deshaun Watson of the Texans, blasted them out of the water. Like Baltimore's doing nothing but just smacking the hell out of them.
Really good, man. It's tough to go against that.
And I think I agree.
The next Monday night is going to tell us what Baltimore's made of.
Yeah,
because we all wanted Chiefs Baltimore in the AFC playoff finals last year.
Yeah,
we all wanted it. We like 2 of the best teams. Like, okay, here we go.
The Titans ruined everybody's plans.
Yeah, the Titans ruined it. Yeah. Okay, well, we get it week 3 this year. Okay, well, here we go.
Yeah,
I would just say Baltimore better have been watching. They better watch a lot of tape on how Los Angeles was able to shut down that offense and Patrick Mahomes, because maybe they figured something out, but they got to go back and watch that and see, how did they do that?
Yeah, it was pretty bland.
Yeah, I mean it's a little worrisome for Kansas City. Like you're just used. Even who did they play last year in the playoffs where they went down? Was it Houston? Yeah, they went down like 21 points in the first half or something like that, and then the explosion happened, and it's like how do you?
And then they never really slowed down.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing with the Chiefs is like how. I mean, I was waiting for that whole game. I was like, all right, Chiefs kept it close, and like when is Kansas City going to just rattle off 3 touchdowns in 7 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
It just really never happened. So Chiefs definitely or the Chargers definitely had it figured out.
Well, I mean, I think that to say they had it figured out, I mean, it could also very just well be that a dude had a bad game. I mean,
that's true.
It's true. It's very true.
Just because somebody doesn't score a lot of points, it doesn't mean that they figured it out. I mean, all right.
Also, Watkins got hurt kind of early in that game. I think he got a concussion. I don't know if he ended up.
Yeah, he didn't. He got knocked out pretty early. I don't think he came back.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still got Tyreek Hill, who's the fastest wide receiver in the entire game right now.
Yeah.
Right. And then
and Hilaire, who's
against
very good.
I mean, to me, looking at the stats, I think like it, and it's funny to say, but the way to beat him is stuff the run game, make Patrick Mahomes throw the ball.
Yeah,
that's a dangerous game to play because
you say that, but I mean, looking at the stats with the Chargers, and granted, it could just be the games, but the leading rusher was Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 10 carries for 38 yards. Darwin Thompson had 4. They only had from their running backs alone. They only had 14 carries. 14 carries for 59 yards. That's all they had from the running backs. Why? I don't fucking know. Because Edwards-Helaire the week before fucking went off.
Yeah,
actually went off.
Well, maybe it's because they were trying to. Maybe it's because Kansas City was going. All right. Well, they've got Ingram and Bosa on the line, so it's going to be hard for us to run this week. So let's try and air it out. And
Well, but still, I mean, it's just common
that
knowledge.
didn't work out, which doesn't make any sense because you got Bosa and Ingram trying to take your
Right. I mean,
quarterback.
then they get to pin their ears back. I mean, it's common knowledge in like football and play calling. Like, regardless how much you throw the ball, you have to run the ball. You have to
be able to move the ball.
Yeah.
You have to be able to run the ball. You have to make them make the linebackers at least think about the play action. Because during this game, like Los Angeles linebackers didn't give a fuck about the play action. They ran the ball 14 times. I mean, so what? That's 3 times. That's 3 times a quarter.
Here's a question
by the running back. That's stupid.
Is it possible they're trying to look? They kind of look past them a little bit.
Because
they got Baltimore. I don't know. That's not smart. You shouldn't do that. But
well, in the NFL,
it's hard to look by a division opponent. Like,
that's the only thing. It's like I don't know, man.
I mean,
that was a weird one.
It could just be a bad game, like Ross said. I mean, it could just be, hey, it was hot in LA and they didn't. I don't know. They just weren't prepared. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Kansas City. Like, if I had to pick a Super Bowl champion, I'm probably going to go with Kansas City. But I think
got a long way to go. Got a long way to go.
Yeah.
That's looking at now. It's
so way too early picks. Mine's going to be Seattle. I'm picking Seattle. Jimmy, go.
To win the Super Bowl. I'll take Kansas. Give me Kansas City.
Way too early. I'll go Baltimore.
Actually, you know what? Yeah, I was about to take Baltimore just because my old school rooting for Baltimore days.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll go Kansas City.
By the way, Christian McCaffrey, another injury. He might be out extended amount of time. Maybe 4 to 6. It's like.
You saw 4. I saw 3 to 5, but it might be 4 to 6. But yeah. There's a lot of injuries.
Does that put Carolina on the board for tanking for Trevor?
Oh, they were on the board before that. They are. My buddy the other day is a big Carolina Panthers fan. He's like, "What do you think? You think Christian McCaffrey's going to go for 1,000 again?" I'm like, "Do you really even give a shit? You guys are going to win 2 games this year, and it's like, do you want to burn up Christian McCaffrey before you guys even have a chance to win?" Like, especially in a year where you're not bringing in Christian McCaffrey to like bring in fans, because that's what he does. He's a great running back. He might be the best running back. Football, he's up there, right? But
all around,
all purpose, whatever. But like, do you want to do that to him? Like, maybe this injury is a blessing. Maybe you give fucking Christian McCaffrey 4 to 6 weeks off and kind of take the miles off his wheels.
Yeah.
You know?
You got to pull it.
The Panthers need to fucking wake the hell up. Like, don't get me wrong. Like we said, Christian McCaffrey might be the best all-around back in the NFL right now. That dude is a beast. Teddy Bridgewater, he's thrown for 331 yards a game, only been sacked 6 times, but his wide receivers, he's got nobody to throw the goddamn ball to.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it? Curtis Samuel.
He's got Curtis Samuel, Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, and that's it.
So
your tight end has 2 catches for 16 yards.
That used to be.
To your point, Jimmy, I honestly love Teddy Bridgewater. I think he's one of the better stories in the NFL. His ability to come back and stick with the NFL and sit however many years he sat and to be successful. And
almost lost his leg.
Right. I think that's a very good story. I think he's a placeholder for the next guy at this point. I honestly believe that.
I think, and it's nothing against Baker, I think Teddy Bridgewater would be fantastic in Cleveland, where he's got 2 beasts of running backs behind him, fantastic wide receivers. He doesn't have to win the game. You just have to not fuck up.
Yeah.
Let your players make plays. That's what Teddy is.
Yeah.
He's not going to go out and win games for you. He's not going to like do the Dak of coming back from 20 points down. Like Teddy's not going to do that. But could he not throw like he's thrown 2 interceptions in 2 games. All right, 1 a game is it's not terrible. It's not ideal, but
he's getting put in positions where he has to, like, you got to go out there and win the game. You're already down 2 touchdowns. Like, he gets put in positions where he's got to kind of let it loose. But
he's thrown the ball 76 times in 2 games, so 38 throws a game. That's a lot in the NFL. That's a stupid a lot. I mean, and looking at it, he's thrown the ball 76 times. They've ran the ball 50 times with running backs. So I think if they could get some weapons for him on the outside, I'm trying to think of wide receivers coming out this year, or just some just weapons like Ryan. You were talking about the tight end, Fairmouth. because Carolina's notorious with Greg Olson. Like their tight ends are something they utilize.
Well, that was Rivera. Now they're at Baylor's old head coach.
Yeah, Rule.
Yeah, Matt Rule. Did they use tight ends?
Penn State product, by the way.
Matt Rule?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Really?
I'm looking it up. I could be wrong. Let me look this up.
I know he coached at Temple.
I know.
Yeah, he went to Penn State.
I was saying,
so he's a linebacker at Penn State for.
He's a fantastic coach. I know that. Yep. But yeah, Jimmy, I'd have to look at the tight ends. But I mean, he's a good enough coach just to utilize what he has. Period.
Yeah.
So I think Fairmouth or they've got to get him some weapons because he's got Fairmouth. He's got nothing right now at all.
I see them. If they have any chance to get Trevor Lawrence, they're going to get him. It's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Well, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Teddy Bridgewater is great, but we talked about it before. I mean, there's not many teams right now. Like we even said, Washington just took Dwayne Haskins 2 years ago. If Washington has a chance to get him, I'm not saying they're going to take him for 100%, but they're going to think about it.
I actually like Haskins, and if I
you want to talk about a guy who doesn't have weapons?
Yeah, my extensive knowledge of the NFL, and I'm the best GM that's ever lived. But if it was my thing, I would stick with Haskins a little bit longer. I would if Carolina wants to trade up 5 picks and give me 2 first-rounders the next year and a half or next 2 years. I mean that's.
So here we're going to go, Mr. GM, best GM in the NFL. I have heard you on multiple occasions say Trevor Lawrence is the next the most sure thing we've seen since Andrew Luck.
Yes.
You're willing to pass on that for Dwayne Haskins, who's done okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pass on Andrew Luck, Peyton Manning.
I would say if it all depends on who would if Washington
Jimmy,
ends up at that number one. Hold on.
You're biased.
I am biased. No, but listen, if Washington, if it's a type of scenario where another team is like, we want Trevor Lawrence so bad,
well, they
will give you X, Y, Z, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's my scenario, and I say that because Washington needs so much help. If they get Trevor Lawrence, they're still bad, even though he might be the greatest quarterback since Joe Montana. I honestly think that Washington needs so much help that I don't think it would.
It's going to take some time for Ron Rivera to be able to build up Washington. Yeah.
Looking at it, and it's very interesting. We've talked about it. Don't get me wrong. There's teams that could want him, but I'm going to go down the list on quarterbacks like Buffalo Bills. I don't think they got Josh Allen.
They like Allen.
They're happy with
him too.
Yeah. The Patriots, pending. I don't think they'll be high enough to get him, but they still have Cam Newton, which Cam Newton's playing pretty damn good, and if he plays well again, I think they're fine with him.
Yep.
Miami just took Tua. They ain't taking him.
No.
The Jets. Okay, I don't think Darnold's what he panned out to be. Maybe
they'll if they have a chance, they'll take him. Yep.
Yeah. Baltimore. No way in hell.
Nope.
Pittsburgh, okay, they would take him. There ain't no way in hell. Pittsburgh.
There's no way they're going to get him.
Yeah, there's no way in hell they're going to be. So Cleveland, if Baker sucks it up, maybe
they won't be able to get him either. Though I mean, that means if the Browns go 4-12, then you're in the running. Yeah, they're
going to be in the running.
And if they go in 4-12, then Baker's out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Cincinnati, not going to happen.
Well, yeah.
Tennessee. They got Tannehill. I don't think they're going to be in the running. Not even close.
I think they just gave Tannehill a contract too. I could be wrong on that. But.
Yeah, I want to hear. I want to say because he was coming up at the end of his deal in Miami, which he got an extension for.
Yeah, he got a 4-year, $118 million this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Tennessee ain't happening. We sit there at the beginning of the season. We talked about Jacksonville. Gardner Minshew is no joke. He's playing well.
I think he's good, but Jacksonville's a bad team.
Well, I mean, you say that, but I mean, Jacksonville beat the Colts, which is nothing. Tennessee, who we raved about, they only lost to them 33-30, and they were in the running in that game.
Yeah.
They were definitely in the running. And looking at their schedule, they play the Dolphins next, the Bengals, the Lions. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be a playoff team. I think they'll win 7 games, 6 games. I don't think they'll be in the running for
The
one
team
pick.
that we didn't bring up is Detroit.
That's going to be a big one. Okay, we're continuing on the line. Indianapolis, Jimmy, that was your pick.
That was my pick, was Indy. Yeah.
And that is for sure, that could happen.
Yeah, they're 1-1. They just smoked the freaking Vikings. But the thing is, they have Phillip Rivers, who's only 1 year, so that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Houston Texans, they got Deshaun. No. Kansas City, no.
Nope.
Raiders will take him. I don't think they're going to be low enough to take him. Chargers, they took Herbert. I doubt it they'll take him. Broncos will be an interesting one.
They absolutely would take.
I think that would be a very interesting pick because they like the wide receivers that Denver's drafted with Jerry Jeudy. They got Cortland Sutton. Like, they will. Like, and then you throw Trevor Lawrence in that mix. I mean, it'd take 2 or 3 years to kind of get the NFL vibe going.
And Noah Fant is the one when I look at the Denver Broncos, he's like the shining part of that team that I see. He just looks like better than everyone else on the field, in my opinion. I think Cortland Sutton's good. We haven't seen him pretty much. I don't think we've seen him at all. Or I guess we saw him week 1, but he didn't look like normal Cortland Sutton. Then tears his ACL. But Noah Fant he's starting a career to be a really good, 10-year like NFL tight end, big number kind of guy.
Well, and Denver's also got KJ Hamler back there. Just saying.
Yeah, we'll see. I love the guy, but yeah.
Well, I was just saying. I'm just saying, like, if Denver takes Trevor Lawrence, they've already got the weapons put in place.
Yep.
Like that's
offensive line's still an issue. It's been an issue here the past 6 years, but yeah.
So, like in the AFC, we've talked about teams that could be available that would take him. The Jets, possibly the Colts.
Yep.
Broncos.
I say the Jags.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, if depending on how they go, I don't know if they'll be number 1 pick possibility. Right. I mean, look at
somebody's got to lose though,
Yeah,
they do.
Well,
that's true.
We went through a bunch of teams that were like, all right, these teams aren't that bad, but we might be saying that now, and then 4 or 5 weeks now, I'm like, holy shit, that team's awful.
Yeah. Okay, so going to the NFC, Washington, interesting.
Possible.
Dallas, no. Giants, I doubt it.
Dallas won't be in the running. Here's the thing: him not getting a contract really throws a wrench into everything.
That's very true. But you guys aren't going to be first-round pick.
True.
Or first number 1 pick. There's no way in hell. You guys are going to be like in the 20 to 25 range.
What if some crazy shit happens where we end up trading Dak in the offseason, get some picks out of it, and then use those picks to trade up to get? I'm just like spitballing here,
but how would you be mad if you traded Dak and got Trevor Lawrence?
No, I wouldn't. And I love Dak. I love Dak more than anything. I think he's an awesome quarterback, and we should have paid him 3 years ago. But
if you got Trevor Lawrence, you'd be pretty stoked.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
The Giants, though, interesting one with how much Carson Wentz gets hurt. Philadelphia Eagles.
Dude, if you want to get into an Eagles bashing podcast, we can do that for 4 hours because I can do that all day. But
we only have so much time. We're running out. It's like we going long, boys.
Yeah, we're good. Okay, so going down, the Packers, no. Bears, they're 2-0 right now. I mean, I think they would take him, but I don't know if they'll be there. What Jimmy, or I don't know which one you guys said. Detroit Lions, interesting one.
Yeah.
Very interesting one. I think they'll be in the running. Wouldn't be shocked to see him. You could trade Matt Stafford, not get a ton, but you get something.
Yeah.
I
think Detroit would probably try and ask way too much for him because his numbers are very good.
And also Detroit runs the way they run the team is absolutely shit.
Is garbage. Yeah.
And this is probably his last year. He might get fired halfway through this year, God knows. But
yeah, he got fired and had a better record than Matt Patricia.
Yeah, that's a sad story up there in Detroit.
I tell you what, has there been any coach to come out of the Bill Belichick system and have success?
Vrabel.
Bill O'Brien's not. I mean, he's a playoff guy.
Yeah, but he's also traded. He's
Traded away his best player, but yeah.
well, Vrabel was a position coach. He was never a coordinator, and he went to went to Houston to be a coordinator, and then he got
He's
the
still
head
part of
coach.
the system, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he still learned a lot under
McDaniels,
Belichick.
like
Watching Belichick.
McDaniels left and went to Denver and was a nightmare. Who's the guy who was the head coach in Cleveland?
Romeo
Cornell, yeah,
Romeo
he's
Cornell.
a nightmare.
Was Mangini a Patriots guy?
Mm,
I think Eric Mangini was a. Anyhow, we might have to skip on the baseball part of this podcast, Jim.
Yeah,
I don't have anything for baseball. There's
good, because I'm going to talk a little bit about basketball. We're going to go quick over this. Let's just kind of hit this.
All right, let's just mute my headphones here. Don't care.
No, we're not going to we're not going to basketball yet, but okay, we finish this real quick. Okay, so Green Bay Packers, no. Chicago Bears, maybe. Detroit, okay. Minnesota Vikings, just a yes, no, quick.
Yes.
You're then running. Jim, yes, no, running.
Minnesota?
Yeah.
I don't know. They paid Cousins way
Yeah, but how
too.
many? This is his fourth year. I mean, he's got to be getting. By the way, Mangini was a Patriots guy. So, but moving on.
Okay.
I honestly, dude, even if they have to cut ties with Kirk Cousins, they would if they can get him.
Oh, fuck
I think
yeah.
they're riding high there for a while, and then
Yeah, well,
they
they
lose
did.
Stephon Diggs, and I think they're on their way down now. I don't think they're as good as.
They lost Diggs. They lost their offensive coordinator as well.
Yep.
He's the coach at Cleveland right now.
Okay.
In Minnesota.
Saints, and by the way, when I'm saying this, I'm saying, would they take him / are they going to be in the running? Saints will not be in the running.
No, they won't be in the running.
They'd take him, but they're not in the running. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, same thing. They'd take him, not in the running.
Well, no.
One quick thing about the Saints. I don't know how good the Saints are without Michael Thomas. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, they did lose tonight.
Yeah, they lost tonight, and I think that Michael Thomas is he's the weapon that Drew Brees cannot lose, and that team's not the same without him.
So Atlanta Falcons, I think they would take him.
Yeah, I think they would too.
Actually, the next two teams, Atlanta Falcons and Carolina, I think they'd both take Trevor Lawrence.
I don't know if Atlanta would. I mean, Matt Ryan has actually been pretty good this year. He's throwing up big numbers.
Yeah, but
how many years has he got left? Do you think 4 or 5 or 6, maybe?
Shit, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it starts to kind of go downhill.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 35.
Did we go through all the divisions? We got through them all, didn't we?
No, we got a couple more. But I mean,
Okay.
like, I don't like. I think they would take him and boot Matt Ryan. He's 35. I think they'd boot him.
They probably get a good deal out of him too. They send him to a team that needs a veteran quarterback. They make it something out of him.
So the NFC West, Arizona Cardinals, no way in hell. They got Kyler. Seattle Seahawks, they got Russell, no way in hell. Then it's the Rams and the Niners. The Niners 1,000% would take him.
Yeah. Garoppolo is not the guy.
Not that guy.
Don't want to piss off 49ers fans, but he's not the guy. He proved that in the Super Bowl. The moment was too big for him. They forced that San Francisco 49ers team to come to play from behind and to try to score because San Francisco runs the ball for 500 yards a game. So
right.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they definitely take them. The last one, the Rams. I think the Rams.
Depends on how they come back with Goff.
I think
they're extremely happy with Goff, and he fits that system very well. And I don't see him going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I think that Goff's good, and they have other needs.
Yeah.
To go.
Yep.
Any more? We go on long, so I'm going to hit unless there's any more NFL talks, I'm going to hit the NBA real quick. Any more?
No.
Same for next week.
About a lot.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot. Okay, so quick NBA. We're into the Eastern and Western Conference Finals. Western Conference Finals with LA and Denver. Eastern Conference with Miami and Boston. Starting the West. Don't get me wrong. If you haven't watched this Denver team is very fun to watch. Jamal Murray is fantastic.
That's a sweep, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, we'll put it this way. I think LA is going to win it. Denver should have won last game. Anthony Davis hit a three literally as time expired to win the game,
And screamed Kobe.
and which he should have. Which he should have. Kobe's one of my idols. I love Kobe's. But I mean, I think Denver's talented enough and got enough talent that they might get one game, but this ain't going more than 5, if 6. The Denver team is fun to watch. They are very fun to watch. Going forward, I think they're going to be a force in the NBA. Their top 5 scorers are all under the age of 23. With Jamal Murray.
What were you guys doing at 23?
Banging chicks, like
Drugs, I don't know.
Drugs and shit in college. I don't know. But yeah, no, I think Denver's a lot of fun. They're going to be it. But LeBron James and Anthony Davis, they are on a freight train. Regardless of who comes out of the East with Boston and Miami, LA's going to win it. And a little fun fact, like with conspiracy in sports and all that shit. So in 2009, right, Kobe, he beat the Rockets in the second round, beat the Nuggets in the conference finals, won his 4th ring in Orlando. LeBron James beat the Rockets in the second round. He's going to beat the Nuggets in the conference finals. And because of the COVID, he's going for his 4th ring in Orlando with a Lakers jersey on.
Wow.
So, don't get me wrong. I think coming out of the East, Miami is awesome. I love Miami. Jimmy Butler is one of the coolest dudes in the NBA. Like, if you haven't read about the heat and the camaraderie they have, it's so fun. They go to dinner every night. They invite one player from other teams, but they're just cool. Jimmy Butler, apparently, and I didn't know, is a gourmet coffee guy. And he brews coffee every day and sells it to his teammates at $20 a cup.
Oh, she's an entrepreneur as well.
Yeah, so when you see him walking into the arena,
interesting dude.
Yeah, if you look at him and like he was homeless at the age of 15. If you like read Jimmy Butler's story, it's super interesting. When you like watch his interviews, he literally tells everybody, he's like, dude, he's like, I'm not the most athletic dude. Like LeBron and all those guys blow me out of the water. He's like, but I'm just a dog and I'm gonna fight.
Yeah.
And
he plays that way too.
Yeah, he's like, you're going to get me tooth and nail every goddamn game, like regardless. And I love that about Jimmy Butler. And he's just saying, we've talked about, like, Ryan wanted to bash Philly and the Eagles, but Jimmy, we've talked about it and just how shitty the Philly fans are. Philly literally ran Jimmy Butler out of town.
Yep.
And he's got to a team that are dogs like him that follow him. And shit, they're probably going to make it to the NBA. They're going to be. I have a feel like they're up 2-1 against Boston. My guess is they're going to beat Boston. They're going to go to the NBA Finals. Granted, they're probably going to get.
I heard Boston's like screaming at each other.
Yeah, they're going to get waxed by the Lakers in the finals, but they're going to get to the NBA Finals, which is a pretty goddamn good accomplishment.
First year, yeah. By the way, so many people talk crap about. Spoelstra's still the head coach in Miami, right?
And it's so funny. And I will admit that I was wrong. And it was way before this podcast, obviously. But when Spoelstra first took the helm with Shaq, or with LeBron and Dwayne Wade and
D-Wade and Bosh.
I was like, oh God, this is just a pushover guy that's just there. LeBron's gonna be running the team. Like, who is this fucking guy? Man, look, that guy's a hell of a coach. Like, way down the road, that guy is a stud. And I like. I will admit I was wrong about Eric Spoelstra. He's a fantastic coach.
Mario Chalmers.
Yeah, but no, the NBA has been great. I'm super excited about seeing what's going forward. Granted, we're probably going to get I probably never said I would say this, but it was Lakers, Heat, and I'm probably going to be going for the Heat. But I mean,
I've still yet to watch a single second.
Well, it's a thing, Ryan, and I think like you've changed me a lot on the LeBron thinking. I used to hate LeBron James.
Yeah.
And it was just because of the domination, and it was just so sick.
Yep.
But and it's funny. Like it was you talking, and then I was playing NBA 2K, and you could I was playing online, and I had to play against somebody, and I got to pick an all-star team, like an old team, and I picked an old team with Shaq and Kobe, and I just fucking mollywopped them.
Mm-hmm.
And but during the game, granted it was a video game, but I was sitting there, I was like, God, this team was so good. Like they had Robert Ory, Derek Fisher, like they were so good. But I remember at the time, like especially when they played Philly, I fucking hated them, man. I hated them so bad. And now years down the road, I'm like, why didn't I enjoy how good this was? Like,
yeah,
this is some of the best players. And I think because of that, and then you and me have had lots of talks about LeBron since. And I think I'm at the same time with LeBron. I used to hate him, but luckily I'm coming to the point of where he's playing still. I'm like, let's just enjoy this. Like this dude is so good. Like he's idiotically good. Like let's stop comparing him to Kobe or Jordan or Magic and just say this dude's unbelievable. Like let's enjoy how fantastic he is.
And you know what's funny? I don't know, you guys. Ryan, you were the same age. Ross, you're a couple years younger than us, but Ross, the thought, us looking at Michael Jordan play.
Oh, trust me,
kids, we're like, oh my God, he's amazing, right?
Oh yeah, I watched all of Jordan shit back in my day.
Right, but there were people who were older than us, just flat out didn't like him.
Oh yeah,
because
Kareem's
of the domination.
Better and all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the same thing. And I'm not trying to get into a Michael Jordan, LeBron James debate or anything like that. It's just perception of the time.
Well, yeah, it's kind of the same thing. And granted, for some reason it gets – I mean, I guess because there's less players on the field and at this point the court, that it seems to be – it's a lot easier to kind of define who's the best on the playing facility at the time. Like his basketball, I mean, there was no question Jordan was the best on the court.
Yeah.
Like right now, there's no question LeBron's the best on the court. Football, I mean, with defense and offense and all, like line.
So many different variables.
Yeah, it's very hard to say who's the best and who's the worst. Like on
you know it. You know it when you see it, though. You know Mahomes is something that we're going to tell our kids about. Be like, hey, you should have been alive when you could have watched Mahomes play. Like he's that type of player. That's how I believe that he is. And I put like Russell Wilson in that book just because I'm a huge fan.
So,
but like, there are guys out there where you're like, you wish you would have been alive to see him. You know what I mean?
So I agree with you, and I don't. Granted, it's way too early, so Mahomes could be there.
Barry Sanders. Like, do we realize how good Barry Sanders was when we got to watch him play?
Yeah, no offense to you, Ryan and Emmitt Smith. Barry Sanders is the greatest running back to ever play the game. In my mind, like best running back ever.
Right.
No offense to Emmitt. Like Emmitt, absolute superstar. One of the best running backs ever. But if I had to pick one running back of all time, give me Barry. No questions asked. Give me Barry.
For one game?
Yes.
One season? Okay.
Give me Barry Sanders.
So that's where Emmitt separates himself. He did it for so long and did it very well for a very long time. And yeah, Barry Sanders did it for a pretty decent career too. But he might have been able to keep going, and but
right.
I think Emmitt's longevity is what kind of made him put him in that class. Yeah.
But I think like this is kind of exactly what I'm getting talking about. Like, except for one question. For anybody of who is the GOAT of any position
in football?
In football.
I have two that just jumped right into my head.
No, I've got one.
Three.
No question asked.
I know what yours is. It's Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice. He's the GOAT.
So Lawrence Taylor's in my book too. I think he changed the game and was a freak and had 15 pounds of cocaine in the system at every game, but like he was unbelievable.
Yeah,
And then
He's also
and
the
then
water boy.
my third is Tom Brady. I don't think there's any question that he's the greatest quarterback of all time.
I think Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback of all time. But if you want to give me the GOAT, like I will take Jerry Rice.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, he's heads and tails above anybody in the history at that position.
Yep.
Oh yeah, not even close. Not even
close. The closest is Larry Fitzgerald, and he's still got a lot.
Oh shit, I wouldn't even say Larry Fitzgerald's close. I mean,
No, I think Larry
no.
Fitzgerald's 2, isn't he, in all-time receiving yards?
Well, that doesn't mean he's the.
Larry's had a
No,
long career. Yeah.
I mean, Chris Carter was fantastic.
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss was
Yeah.
probably number 2 in my mind. Randy Moss is probably easily number 2. But I mean, but like
Cole Beasley, like he's up there.
But yeah, exactly. So we can sit here and talk about like number ones, but we go like, all right, give me the top 3 basketball players of all time. Michael Jordan's going to be
Jordan.
Yeah, there's no question. All of us will have Michael Jordan. Like even if we're saying top 3, he's going to be in that conversation.
Mhm.
End of story. And then we have LeBron and Kobe. It's pretty easy on basketball, and I think that's why the argument in basketball's on GOAT is more predominant because it's easier to tell who's the most dominant player.
I would say it's easy for us because you just named three of the players that were predominant in our era, right? We didn't get to see Dr. J. We didn't really see Larry Bird or Magic too much. Like
no,
Kareem.
but the difference is like in football, regardless of the age, you're having to pick through 22 players on a team, offense and defense. Baseball, you have to pick between 22 players. Offensive. Basketball, you have 5, regardless. There ain't offense and defense.
Yeah, they play both ways.
It's 5 players.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier to figure out who's best at offense and defense and the most dominant player out there.
Right.
And I think that's why, like, when it comes to GOAT, granted, there's always a GOAT in football. Baseball is a little argument. But when you talk about GOATs, most people talk about basketball.
Right. And you got 2 guys that are playing defense and offense, and those 3 players that we named were like all-world defense. I mean, there's like I don't know about Kobe. I think Michael Jordan was defensive MVP multiple times. LeBron as well. Like I mean, these guys dominate the court no matter on offense, defense, rebounding, whatever. Yeah.
You can defend any player on the court, easy.
Right.
So and we got off on a little scroll here, but so I'm saying like in the finals, it's probably gonna be Lakers and Heat. I'm pulling for the Heat just because they're the team that I can go there. But at the same time, because of you, Ryan, like I'm still – if the Lakers win, I'm not going to be pissed. I'm just going to like kind of sit in the aura of like this is LeBron James. Like
so pretty much what Ross is saying is like I've been put in positions where I've had to defend LeBron James, which is like a really easy thing to do. It's really easy to defend LeBron James because he's, in my opinion, the greatest player that ever lived. You're splitting hairs when you're comparing Jordan to Kobe and Kobe to LeBron and Jordan to LeBron or whatever, but like people just love it. Listen, I've grown up with it my whole life. Everybody hates the Cowboys, and I understood it. Like when I was growing up, the Cowboys were dominant in the 90s, and they won a lot of Super Bowls, and they were brash, and they let everyone know that they won the Super Bowls, and how about them Cowboys and all that stuff. People hated it, right? They just hated the winners. Like I don't just want to. I mean, Cowboys made it easy to hate them, but people hate Kobe. And if you're not a Laker fan or if people hate LeBron, like if you're not a LeBron fan, if you're not a Miami Heat fan when he was there, if you're not a Laker fan now, like it's easy to hate LeBron. But I get it, but it's.
And a lot of it has to do with the fans. Granted, it doesn't have to do that. Like for instance, like for all you guys out there listening, the 3 of you that aren't, I am from Oklahoma. We don't have. We just got the Thunder a couple years ago. So for me, the closest stuff to me is Dallas. But I hated the Cowboys because the Cowboys fans were annoying as fuck.
Right. Understandable.
And I didn't like the Mavs fans because the Mavs fans were not existent until Dirk got to be one of the best players in the NBA. And then all of a sudden, Mavs fans came out of the fucking woodwork. Like I saw Mavs shirts everywhere. I'm like, where were you like 4 years
I
ago?
used to go to games when Popeye Jones was the best player on the
Right.
Mavericks.
And that's awesome. And that's awesome. But like players in Oklahoma, like or fans in Oklahoma, like you didn't see any shit. Then all of a sudden Dirk became baller and I was saw Mavs shit everywhere. Like,
Yep.
You didn't watch the fucking NBA like 3 years ago? Like, shut up. So I hated the Mavs.
It's the same reason why Jimmy hates Tom Brady. Jimmy knows that Tom Brady's the greatest of all time. He will never admit it, but he knows it. And
No, that's not true.
He'll admit that he's the greatest quarterback. He'll never admit where he came from.
No, I do. I admit that too. I just say, listen, he's a great dad. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. He's never gotten in any trouble.
Where did he come from, Jimmy? Just say
the
it.
only reason. No, that's not even why.
Just
I
say
hate
it, Jimmy.
That's not even why. That's not even why. The reason is because every time I go home and I have to talk to my Michigan fan friends who are like, Tom Brady, the greatest quarterback of all time, played Michigan. I gotta hear it every single time I go home.
You know what I just heard again, Ryan? He said Michigan.
Yep, I heard it.
I figured I'd give them an actual. They can't beat Ohio State anymore, so.
I can't remember. Have they ever beaten Ohio State? I can't even remember.
It's been a while. We've been running a long time, guys. And
Yeah.
so
we'll kind of very long.
A little bit. I think the NBA Finals, it's going to be a mollywop, but I'm happy for it. College football, super stoked. Big Ten's coming back. Excited for the football game. Week 2, Big Ten, Penn State, Ohio State. Oh, trust me, we are going to have a monster podcast about Penn State, Ohio State coming up for you folks.
It's going to be fun.
I'm going to be Big John, the referee between Ryan and Jimmy.
I don't think that's no. The worst it ever was is
I will feed
when we were working 12s.
I will feed the animal.
We were working 12s, and then we watched the game in the office. And you were like, Penn State's going to whoop Ohio State's butt and all this other kind of stuff. And it was a blowout. It's great.
Yeah.
So I do have I got a couple of buddies of mine that I went to high school with. They have their own private companies. One's called, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce this, Vidar Works or Vidar Works. That's VIDARWORX.com.
Jimmy, that's the best selling point ever. I just want to tell you that.
I'm not done yet.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you.
Tell me about it.
Anyway, he does woodworking. He makes incredible old school looking flags. He'll take a barrel, turn it into a bar for you. Incredible lighting, really good work.
Does he have a website? Because
he does have a website. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to post this on. I'm going to post them down in the section in the comment section for YouTube and on our podcast as well.
Yeah, put that out there because me and my wife are looking for some.
They do some
end tables, and
he does some great work.
Nice.
Yeah. The other one is my buddy Noah. He's got a candle company actually. Oh. And they're all based on horror movies and
what? Hold on, Jimmy. I literally just sat up in my chair. If anybody that don't know me, I am the biggest horror buff in the world.
Yes, yeah.
What are the smells of the candles?
I'm not 100% sure on the smells of the candles, but if you go to thesanctuarycandleco.com,
Hold on.
everything you need.
I'm this in right now.
It'll be a link in the chat.
Yeah, give me that.
There'll be a link there'll be a link below. Thesanctuarycandleco.com. Yeah, they don't do like like Scentsy where it's all these different styles. Theirs is strictly like Halloween horror.
That's awesome.
And ghosts. They I think they're coming out with this candle because it's getting ready to be October here pretty soon. It's in a witch's cauldron. Oh, and then they put a wax skull in the candle, so as it melts, it reveals the skull. Ooh, and then ultimately the skull.
That's pretty solid.
It's good stuff.
That's cool.
And they use the soy candles as well. They don't do regular wax, so you don't have the burns.
Okay, nice.
It's good stuff, man. Yeah, the Sanctuary Candle Co. also veteran owned. My friend Noah's an Army vet.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So definitely hit those guys up. They're going to give us a shout out on their platforms as well for our podcast. Hopefully, it brings more people.
Yeah, Jimmy,
And
we
they could
probably
be bored with our 3-hour podcasts.
Yeah,
Jeez.
look, let's get this over with. Let's
All
go.
right,
get this
listen,
over
everybody loves us. Jimmy, we need to change it to the Boom Buck and Blue podcast.
Yeah, I really do think we're gonna have.
Yeah,
I
Ryan,
already
don't get me wrong. I was a little skeptical at the first time you're coming up just because you can't get a little humorous, but I will say you have been a vital part of the last two podcasts. I love having you on here. And
let's keep doing
we're
this.
definitely going to be doing this going forward. So we're changing our name from the Boom Buck podcast to the Boom Buck and Blue podcast. We'll change it on Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. We'll change it to the Boom Buck and Blue and get Ryan out there.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, by the way, this has been fun. Yeah, and
It's been a blast. Absolutely.
I appreciate it. Thanks for test driving me there for a little bit and giving me the opportunity.
That test drive. We'll get you out there. We got another fun week of college football going. We'll see what's going on the Big Ten coming football going forward, and we're gonna have a lot to talk about going forward, especially with baseball coming to an end with playoffs, NBA finals, college football moving forward. I know me and Jimmy, Ryan's just coming in, but me and Jimmy went on a little hiatus for a little bit. But college football's back, and damn it, we're coming in full force. So,
no point in us to not be doing this.
Right, exactly. Tell your friends, tell your families. Put us out there, Boom Buck and Blue podcast.
Please, yeah.
Jimmy will post all the tags to get us, and hope you enjoyed it. And we had enough fun talking about that. If you're still listening 3 hours later, then
hey,
I'll buy you a beer for the love of God. Send me. Hey, I'll tell you this right now. If you're still listening at this time, find me on Facebook and send me a message, and I will Venmo you money for a beer. I swear to God.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
I'm not gonna do that. No, it's good stuff.
I will. I'll send you beer money.
This is kind of the thing. Yeah, and I'm gonna go on a squirrel. This is the kind of the thing that we had in mind when we first started talking about this.
All right.
Yep.
It was just us talking and just that's it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, let's get out of here. It's getting late.
Bitches, I'm out.
I love you guys.
See you, boys.
Bye.
Amigos.